Good morning. This is Catherine, the Board of Assessment Appeals for hearings for March 15th, starting at 9 o'clock. The recording is going to begin. This is Bridge for Conference Room 1. Your week participating in
Well, are you a full-time?
No.
Okay, you're one of the volunteers, so I definitely appreciate this. Oh, look at this. So this is social distancing?
This is social distance, COVID-friendly, masked up recording. So, and because of all that, there's a little script in the beginning and at the end to start with our recordings and so forth.
Okay.
So, please be patient and know that we're not actual robots, but here we are. The hearing will begin at 9 a.m. This is to confirm that this is Appeal 458 for 101 Waterville Road. Gerald McCormick is owner, the appellant, present, and co-owner is Eileen Liu.
Yes, my wife.
Great. Okay. Mr. McCormick. Hello, Mr. Murray.
Just going to give you, these are revised note forms with the neighborhood on them.
Okay, thanks. Mr. McCormick, the town has your property valued at $1,765,000, and you are seeking a reval market to $1,142,857. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. Now that we have all that recorded for the hearings, I want to let you know that my name is Catherine. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Appeals for the assessment. And my role today is to understand your appeal so that I can present it to a majority of the board.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the goal for today. And I did have a chance to go through your file here, and do forgive me because it's a lot of volume. There's a lot of pictures, so it's all good. I'm going to need a little help getting through what I need to know. And
Sure.
there was just a lot of stuff really on another property, not your property.
There were 3 properties that were comps that were,
Okay.
2 of them were much nicer. And a lot of it was sort of comparing them to my property.
Okay, and then at the back there's a bunch of cars that do they relate to yours?
They are, in fact, here. I actually had.
So I just want to make sure that we don't confuse the file either. So why don't you? What's really helpful, especially if there's sales comps, because I know that you were showing me some assessment data for another house that's definitely one of the grand estates. I understand that, but where's your property in here? So please take it away.
Okay. So, well, in fact, I am slightly adjusted. I'll give this to you at the end, but there was like a 5th reason of my summary. Because it's really the summary section, which I'll go through, and all the rest is really back and forth. But the fundamental reason that I have an issue with the assessment is that I went through this reassessment process last year. And in the last year, my new assessment was set to $910,000.
Now that was sometime for the 2019 tax year. When did you do that?
I did it in the beginning of 2020.
In the beginning, pre-COVID, just before it started for the last year.
No, it was in March, so it was in COVID. It was sort of
right.
A
year ago.
Exactly. But that was resetting the 2015, right? Because this one is based off 2015, so the intent of that was to kind of reset for.
And I understand. I want to get back to that number too. I don't understand why all those adjustments were gone.
That's right. That should have been the starting point.
Right. Let me find your field card, and if you can walk me through what got dropped off, for better words. Is that what that? What I'm am I agreeing, am I saying it right?
Well, I mean, it's one of these things where there's the field card and then there's the market value, right? Everyone kind of talks, so it's, because it wasn't put in place, it was supposed to be put in place, it wasn't adjusted on the field card, right? There's a note in there saying BAA adjustment, but nothing was changed on the field card.
Do you have that in here?
Yes, sir.
You do?
I mean, our field card is, in Appendix A, actually.
That's why, there's so much, I appreciate Appendix A. So give me the page number. Because we have 77 pages.
Yeah, page 20.
I think I found one.
Page 19.
Okay, page 19, 16. Okay. I hate to take these out, but this is what I need. Okay, sir. Okay. So this was printed February 2021.
Right.
And
then there's,
what was missing from
well, it shows a note 3/18/2020, change BAA. But
I'm sorry, tell me where that is.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Back?
In the visit change history.
Oh, there's a change. Okay, yes, I see it. I see it.
But no change was made.
Haha, okay.
So it should have been, the new assessment I got the paper, the action notice on Appeal 105, which was my last year's appeal, and they granted that to 910, but they didn't change it on the card.
All right.
So when they did this appeal, I mean, this adjustment, it was a mathematical model, they started at the wrong point. That's.
Do you have that, you said, the notice, is that back here?
Yes, in fact.
Action notice, right here.
Yes.
Change, okay. Was reviewed, provisions, all right. I'm going to take out these two pieces of paper, I hope that does it, and bring them to the top, so I know.
You know what, I have them here as separate.
I'm just letting you know, these are really important.
Yeah.
And do you know why any of the changes, what it should have been, or like where they came up with the 232?
I mean, it was just looking at the market values and sort of.
Okay.
I can go through all those details. My land is very irregular shaped. It's on the ledge. I've got wetlands on it, and it was marked as not impacted for my primary land, and it just had impaction for the land above an acre. But it wasn't really changed that much for the above an acre, but it really should have, even the ones on the primary one is impacted because it's all ledge and like hills and rocks, and it's sort of it's not an ideal plot.
Okay. All right, because it shows you have 3 acres, but a lot of that is, and you're in it's a 1 acre zone?
I don't know.
It's double A. Okay, I think it's double A. Okay. So you all understood. Okay. All right. Now
but I actually have this as a new. This is my new data where this shows the wetlands map, showing the wetlands on my property as well as the topo map too.
All right. And now this new assessment from last year would have put your, because again it's assessment. I should get out my little. So this assessment has your fair market value. Let's see the.
1.7. 1.765.
The 910 though that you got last year, what does that translate into? Is that the 1.7?
No, that's what it was.
Right, divided by 0.7 equals, so that would have been $1,000,003. From last year, if they took that new assessment of 910.
Right.
So the 910 would have been a fair market value of $1,000,003. Okay, and you were asking for a value of $1,142,000. Okay. So how do you get there? Because I'm right. I totally get this to the 910. So now we're almost looking at how did you get to the $1,142,000? Do you have a couple of sales?
So
adjoining properties or nearby properties?
I mean, there's one of the problems is that these houses I use as a comps were on the market a lot, and they never sold. They kept dropping the price and dropping the price and dropping the price. And so,
but it's
my Camaro 139 sold for $1.3 million in 2016.
Yeah. Okay. Thing I know.
Within that time frame, there's not a good sales count. The house across the street from me sold but they sold for like a non-market price. They sold for zero, right? So I don't know how to kind of get the information from that.
Okay.
They were like, it was some sort of, like a bank auction thing or something. They had been on the market for a whole long time, and they kept dropping the price and dropping the price and dropping the price. So, I mean.
So when did they sell? Was it 2020 sometime, or was it? And I appreciate you helping me pull out the information. I mean, and are we? Because it was nice looking at the pictures of 1139 Yellow Road.
Well, right. Well, one of the things is that house at one point was shown as less valuable than mine. And to me, it's like, holy cow, it's absolutely impossible.
That's a tough, yeah, well, it's a very special buyer, clearly. But, so what properties would, and I see you're not, I mean, you're a very large case, right? You have over 5,000 square feet, but it's not your standard new construction colonial, by any means. That's so easy to comp out.
And then, I mean, the comparables were showing as, in like, less than 50%, and mine was showing 85%. My house is in worse shape than their house.
Okay, so your depreciation. Now, and then tell me a little, well, first of all, do you know of houses in your neighborhood that did sell last year?
What? They did, and they sold for significantly under their ask. They've been on the market for multiple years.
But if we could get to that, we could use those to get to your market value that you're asking for of $1,150,000. That's kind of the goal, to say, well, this is what has sold, and let's say, so can you give me some of the addresses or something that sold, and then we can just say, well, your house is different to that. Do you have some of the sales?
I don't have, I mean, I loaded all of the sales data up in a model.
Okay.
But there's no, like, I thought you had to go and get, direct comps. I couldn't go and just use, neighborhood comps.
Well, do you have comps that sold? It's comps that sold last.
Right, no, because there aren't any comps that sold.
That's what I mean. So the next best is, well, what's going on in the area, or and let's adjust to those.
Right, and so in my, like, I mean, looking at the neighborhood, and that's in the summary, that's section 5 I added, right?
Section 5?
Which is brand new. This is what I just, because.
Great. Do you have a copy for me?
Yes, I do.
Copy to you? Okay.
So this is adjusted, summary 5.
Okay.
And these are the backups for it. This is my other.
Okay, good.
Topo map showing. And this is the other comp section where these are all other recent comps where they're showing how the market value relative to the Zillow market, where
that was in here.
Right, but there wasn't the addresses were not there.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, and so on this sheet, page 15, where's the sales price? Is that, or are these Zillow sale prices?
These are Zillow estimates, and because there weren't the comps with actual sale price, I had to go to for all like the appraised assessed, and so I do not. But that document shows the neighborhood overall assessment for my area was down. Right, so Mill Hill is my neighborhood.
Right, but it also has like Fife Road, Edgewood Place, and it's Zillow. I was just hoping that there would have been some real sales, actual sales in 2020 that we could look at. Warner Hill Road. So, but these are not actual sales. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. I mean, there were, I think, 94 sales in my neighborhood of houses over 600,000, and so those houses, the valuation got closer to the appraised. But I mean, the fundamental for me, even though there's sales, it's that this is why. Let's go to page 13. This page 13.
And why do I have all these different? Okay, I'll stick with it. Page 13.
Yes.
The field cards are not numbered, so we're at page 25, I'm too far up. Okay, here.
Yeah, the field card because they're PDFs. So.
All right.
Okay, so 13 shows, and this shows how going all the way back, this is as far as the data that you guys had on the computer system back in 2009, just normalizing there and looking at the comps. My house kept going up and up and up and up and up, flat, up, where all the others were varying and going down.
And what color are you? You're with the X.
On the black
You're
one.
on the top one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the other ones were going down. So my house, relative to 2009, according to the tax system, is up 13%, whereas all the other ones are down 11, down 30, down 35, right? So what I'm looking for is to get back in line with these comparable properties. And that's fundamentally where my number comes from, right? And so this also, the X for 2019, that's where the adjustment was granted.
Right. And this again is somewhat theoretical, and the assessment appeals process works best when we just have a few comps that then we can discuss in theory, like why you should have had a different price. So if we could just find a couple of comps that sold and like discuss them to your house to say the house next door. Now, we don't need to go to the grand estate because that's clearly not but is there anything, I'm looking at some of the other, I'll tell you, that's what I really need. That's what I really need so much. I mean, I'm sure houses are selling in your neighborhood, I would hope, they're selling everywhere. And then you can tell me, then we can say, well, this is a very small case, it's sold on Mill Hill Road or Warner Hill Road. But you don't have any sales data.
I have just a house across the street from me which holds for nothing. So that's the only one that anywhere close to my house.
And why do you think that sold for nothing? I mean, where is that?
Well, it was on the market for
years.
3 years, 2.5 years.
And then during COVID, everything sold. So what's that address?
That's 100 Waterville.
Okay, so is that in here? Because I'm sure there's somewhere that it's in set. Well, so 100, now I have too many papers. With my notes. Yeah. Okay, so 100 Waterville.
Let me see, but I want to see if that actually sold in.
And why are there so many field cards? I was looking at the print date. I think they're all the same.
There's because for my comps, I got field cards for the last 4.
There's just a lot of your field cards.
Well, my field, there's 4 pages for each year for my field cards, and there's 4 sets of years to get from 2009 to 2000.
Wow. Okay. All right. And then we have 100. So what kind of house is 100 Waterville?
100 Waterville is I don't know, it's sort of colonial-esque, but it's not as different. It's sort of I don't know, like a sunny house.
A sunny house?
Yeah, they've got like a big skylight in there that kind of makes it very light.
Okay. And is there a field card for them in here?
Yes, it is on page 60.
60, okay. Let me get back to it. Okay, I pulled that up. Okay, great. Right, and it is okay, so we can figure out.
But it sold for 0 is a problem. It sold on April 4th of 2019 for $0.
Okay. And it's still not like yours. I mean, you're right. You're saying it's a different type of house.
Right.
They made some much smaller, contemporary. All right.
But it sold in 2007 for $1.4 million, and right now it's valued at Yeah, 860,000, yeah.
Okay, but this one sold, and let's see if we can get a sale price on that. Okay, Waterville sold 2019, the field card has it at 0, the sale, the transfer. Okay. Well, we'll find out about that one. And tell me a little about your house as in, because it sounds like you're saying the depreciation number, the percent good, 85 is too high.
Well, it's like, okay, so there's the market value aspect, and then how do you make that market value work with the land, right? So there's two different factors.
So the land and the house that's there.
Right.
You know, like you're saying, there aren't a whole lot of comps. So it is, you know, it's in 1932. How many, has it had updates or?
I mean, it definitely has had some updates, but it's, you know, it's got leaks, it's got issues with the floor, it's cold, it's got like a mishmash of heating systems because it has like an ancient gas steam system that doesn't work. It's got forced air.
1932 utility.
Right.
Like,
it has forced air in like 40% of the building. Then there's several ductless splits, and you know, in fact, the heating system is actually half of it is, well, the cooling part doesn't work anymore right now. I've got that's stuff that is more maintenance that needs to be done on it.
Okay, and so the last thing it looks like, you know, you've been there a few years. I'm looking at the retail part. Okay, so you've been there 15 plus years.
Yes.
You did a remodel when that was done before the baths were done, so the baths are still 20 plus years old. The last time they were updated, so they're 20 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Baths. And how many baths do you have?
2.5.
Okay, 5 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. Okay, and it's like a stone construction, it looks like.
It's right.
It's a mix, you know.
Right. It's one stone room, really, is what happens.
And floor plan, is it a ranch or is it a cape or there's stuff upstairs?
It's a ranch, except there's one. There's like a 2 bedrooms that are upstairs.
Okay.
And they actually have about a third of each bedroom is 5 feet tall.
Right.
So
with the knee walls and that. Okay. With the knee wall. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And now, then the next thing that was done that we have to update anything, the remodel, interior alterations, again, done about 10 years ago.
Right.
What was that? Because that looks like you put a chunk of change in there.
Right. We moved, essentially, we moved the kitchen because the kitchen was sort of in the corner of the house. It was almost like built as if they would have servants work in the kitchen and bring the food out. So we kind of moved the kitchen into the living area and
you have an open plan now?
Yeah.
Okay. To open central. Okay. And again, the kitchen would be 10 years old.
Yeah.
As cabinet. So that's all. Okay. And then the addition to a cottage and rebuild, what was that?
There's a little cottage that's on the neighborhood, on the property,
okay.
And we sort of, it was in a horrible shape, and we fixed it up. So when we had my in-laws living there. Okay, so
like an accessory apartment, and how big is that cottage? Is it a little?
It is.
Does it have like a living room, bedroom, a little bath?
Yeah.
Like a 1 bedroom, 3 room type thing?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a card for it.
No, is there a separate card?
Yes.
Oh, that's a separate card.
That's one of the reasons why my cards are so big. So this is like, but it's like, you know, the valuation's included in the first card, but this is the.
Okay, do I have that?
Yes. Anywhere we have the first, like, anywhere we have that main house, we have this, another 2 pages for the second. If you want here, here.
Okay. Sorry, lots of paper. Okay. So that's well, that's confusing. Okay, and does this have a separate tax?
No, there's a line item in the first one which includes it.
Yeah, okay. That's why I was asking about.
So it's
So that's part of.
That's part of the valuation for the main house, yes.
Okay.
And it always has been, it's not a new thing.
So
It's been there for 40 years.
Okay, but it just bothers me that it shows the assessment value. It's like, you're not paying twice on this. So it would almost be like this is the third page to your card. Every other card has 2 pages, but you have this third page to show the picture.
Yeah. I mean, the first page has, I don't know if it's got how much data it has on it, but it's got a little data on it too. Just, I don't know, for whatever reason. So.
All right. It has, is that what you think is that 59,000?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the cottage.
Yes.
All right, cottage. All right. And then you also have a question, what is this air conditioning? Is that, they're giving you an assessment in that cottage of another 11,000?
No. They're like, no other houses in Fairfield show air conditioning as a separate feature that's text, but mine does. That's one of the things of looking at the field card.
Okay, so we need to...
And I definitely tried to approach it from a bottoms up where you kind of look at that and say, well, the land it was overvalued because it doesn't reflect the shape or the topographical, the shape of the property, the wetlands. We're missing because it's charging me for the air conditioner separately. For the garage, it's charging me more per square foot than a lot of houses.
And where's that? The garage under has a unit cost of $41? Is that what you're saying? That's a high value?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. And then garage, square foot value. Okay.
It's showing $100 a square foot for the garage.
So this shows a unit cost of $41. Garage under, that's what I was looking at.
No. This is the...
In the outbuilding?
On the outbuildings, FGR5, that's the with loft good, that's the garage. And that's showing...
I thought that was the cottage.
No, the cottage is shown as on the appraised value summary. It's rolled into there. Or no, that's 59.4 is for a garage, so it's showing $100 square foot for a garage.
I'm thinking that's I thought that was the cottage.
No.
Where do you see the cottage? Listed somewhere else?
The cottage, I believe, is in...
Because I think it's in that, the residential outbuilding. On the front.
I think it's in the building value.
Yeah, no, I think if I was to look at the cottages given this, I think that's with the loft is good.
No, there's no loft and there's no loft. That's definitely a garage. That's the garage.
Because I have here garage under.
Right, there's a garage that's in the main house.
Okay,
and
is
there's
that a separate
garage.
building, a separate 2-car garage or
Yes.
something? Okay. All right, and I just don't see where that.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I definitely have done the math and found it before, but I don't know if this is the place to kind of, I don't want to use up all the time looking at that.
Well, and unfortunately, I was just going to point that out because we've used the 2 appointments, so I'm already 1 appointment behind.
Okay. Well, fundamentally, we've got the prior action, which reduced the value. Okay. Then I went through justified that in there, and I also. Since then, those houses, which I use as comps, actually still went up. They didn't go up in value nearly as much to kind of bridge the gap. So that line is still justified going down. Our neighbor, the directional change in the comps, and this goes to that card you're holding there.
Yeah.
Right. So I still went up a lot in this last assessment, even though the neighborhood was flat down. And so there's really no mathematical reasons why we should. Mine should have gone up at all. It should have gone down from that and closer to my original ask.
Well, Mr. McCormick, I think I got a better idea of like your field card's a little, but now I know a couple of questions to ask to find out about a couple of those things that can make to get the change what I'll call like baked into the formula before. what I could really use is, even if I come up, if you could send me, I'm going to give you an email.
Okay.
No 70, I'm going to cut you off, no 70 pages. You cannot send me 70 pages. What I would really appreciate is, here's our email, is BAA, Board of Assessment Appeals, at fairfieldct.org. And put appeal number in the subject line, appeal number 458, and Catherine, CATHERINE. If you could get me a couple of houses that have sold in 2020, somewhere in your neighborhood, like that's a key thing, like location is key. You're a unique property. So if you went into Greenfield Hill and you found a sort of 1932 ranch cape, because I get that, that's fine. Like something that, if you're looking for that type of house, it might be in a few different areas. It might be, and it may not be in Mill Hill, but it may be in Greenfield Hill, right?
Okay.
Just a couple that I might sold. And I would just like to know what they sold for, if you could cut out the MLS listing so we can get like the square footage, the condition. If they say, oh, it was beautifully all refurbished and all redone and all, and it sold for $1.2 million, then you're right in there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Versus the $1.7 million versus,
Yeah.
And I understand that it's not the same problem. It's not like I've got a few hearings, hopefully I'll catch up on the time because they're down at Southport Chase. It's like, hey, my neighbor sold for this. I have four.
Right.
I have 4 houses that sold like this. I know what model they are. Up, down, a little here for that. Oh,
No, but when I was listening to the assessment call, and what they did is they talked about how certain neighborhoods, they went down a lot because it was really hard to sell. That's what's happened for my range of prices in my neighborhood. It's really, really hard to sell. Houses are in the market for years.
And people want new construction. I get all that. So that's why, you're...
All right, I will definitely do that. I feel like, because I didn't have that, I used this, and fundamentally, the starting point for this reassessment was wrong. It should have been from the amount that was granted.
And they start new, and there's a whole model, and you would probably love to sit down with the assessor and discuss the model and do that. And he's got the model, and it's approved by the state, and it works, but then you have different properties. That's what the hearing's about.
Right.
So,
right. It was just, it was wrong data to start with, so you have to wrong time. So,
and that's what and the hard part is things get into the model, and then you make an adjustment, but if it's not in the formulas, if there's not something you can really correct, then it does go off market value, and then you have to kind of repeat the whole thing. So that's what we would like to not keep repeating it. And what's lovely, the good part is we have to repeat it because we have different types of housing. It's not just all one subdivision.
No. And
that's why we would
my
have
house
to
is right. It's a unique house, and I like that, but it means that it's not apples to apples.
It does, and that's why thanks for coming in and showing us that.
Okay. And I appreciate. I'm sorry that it took longer than expected. Let me pad out, and you probably need a minute to step on my papers up.
And then if you could tell the next person, we know we're a little late, just give me 1 minute so I don't get mixed up on papers.
Okay.
That would not be good.
I will do that.
And if you could just 2, 3,
Yeah, I literally have loaded all the data from the town up into my own BI model, and so it wouldn't even take that long to do. But it's more. There isn't a perfect one, but I had these ones were the most perfect, and that's why.
But they had it sold, and it's really based on fair market value. And then if you
they just didn't sell enough here. You're right. So because there aren't very many.
That's a statute. That's not like something we can willy-nilly take. We're really trying to get as close to October as we can. If people bring in appraisals from June, we're not like totally getting into June, but we're like, hey, let's just make sure.
Right, but for me, it's like I did this last year. It was granted, and it should have started from there. Okay.
And things on the field card should definitely. Mr. McCormick, we did not swear you in. I see that piece of paper there. Could you raise your hand? For the record, do you solemnly swear that the information you gave concerning the assessment appeal in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And if you could put your signature there.
I did.
And please send the next person up. I would appreciate that. But 2 or 3 comps, and then you can say, look, my house is much bigger, but look at all that they've gotten done.
Right, and that's why they sold 100, which was the closest one.
They sold only for $1 million, and I know mine's bigger, so I'm asking for $1,150,000.
Right.
But it just makes it easier to to get the end game what we want.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the way it is.
Thank you, Catherine, I appreciate it.
I
I will send you
appreciate
this.
your participation. Thanks.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, so here's your 9:15. Your 9:30 is a
I
phone.
knew that was going to
Okay.
I knew when I opened them last night.
That is gonna happen. So he just wanted to, he knows you're gonna be like 15 minutes late, and
Okay.
he just wanted to confirm the phone number, so that should be what you have, but that's for your.
You are so good at
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize. I knew last night I was starting to go through it, and it was a 75-page appeal, and I'm going,
Oh, no.
This is not the one to start with.
Oh, wow. Well, hopefully mine's simpler, or at least more straightforward.
Once I opened it up, I know because I reviewed them the night before, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, some of these
No,
are
no
going
worries. I know, it's gotta be a big
And I'm
undertaking.
like, no, don't start with the one before. They all.
Now the whole day's off. This happens to me at work too.
So
One long
I
meeting.
apologize, I
No
really
worries.
do, I'm one of those that really does try to stay on time, so,
No worries.
so the hearing will begin at 9:36.
Okay.
And sir, this is, to confirm a few things, we are being recorded, so for the record, this is appeal number 380 for 330 Acorn Lane. Owner is Zoltan Pondrak.
That's right. Good
Okay.
job.
Who is present here, heard him say, and, may I just call you Zoltan or?
Please.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And my name's Catherine, but I'll introduce in my role in a second. For the town reserve property valued at $1,323,300. And you're asking for a fair market value of $1,002,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Just so you know, my name's Catherine. I'm one of 9 members that sit on the Board of Assessment Appeals. And my role today is to understand your appeal so that I can present it to a majority of the board who will vote and we'll have our deliberation and vote on it.
Fantastic.
Okay? Great. And if you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So help you God. If you could sign that you have been sworn in, that would be terrific. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. You had an informal hearing, but then you bought it a year ago for $1,150,000.
Yes.
Okay. The informal hearing, I have to say, I'm hearing a lot. Its purpose wasn't as this. The purpose was to make sure that the field cards were correct and that the data was correct. So, and I don't think that was really communicated. That's why I wanted to start at the top and say, this is my rule.
Yeah, I was a little confused at that.
Well, you're not alone.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to be clear here. Okay, so when did you purchase it? You purchased it in September of 2019, so just before our reval date, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, September 2019, and you paid $1,150,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so how are you coming up with the and so you have your appraisal,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and, I saw, I'm familiar with this area, on Acorn Lane, there should be some good comps, there are good comps here, you have the appraisal, professional appraisal,
Mm-hmm.
And you've updated it a little. You said, okay, I paid this. I think it's $1.2 million, not $1.3 million.
Yeah, I tried to
Do
be.
you have any sales in that because of the, it's in a, not subdivision, but, there should be some other accomplishments. Do you have any that sold maybe in 2020?
I didn't bring information on that. I mean,
Okay.
my general argument was that, so I tried to do, or I'm in the process of doing a refi. Like, they really won't even hear it because the purchase is so new. Like, they don't even really want to do, like, a new appraisal because it's been, especially at that time, it's been, like, within a year. But, I know people are fleeing the city and whatever else, and property values have gone up a little bit now. Is that here to stay? Who knows? But either way, that was kind of the 1.2.
Okay.
I don't have comps. I mean, I know on here they had comps, obviously, from 2019.
It's just they're a little thingy because,
Right.
they back it up, so that's all I was saying.
Yeah, and I mean, even the mortgage broker who, they want to be really, really rosy.
Yeah.
Right, and they get,
they have to have it. No, I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get from the $1.3 million to the $1.2 million because it's not. It is a lot of money. I'm not saying,
Right.
willy-nilly, but it's good to know how to do it. And then, I'm probably not allowed to say, but sure, so if you ever come back, we all have to, I have to, also train you to make my job easier, to get us back on time.
Right.
So, you are 330 Acorn, all right, so let me just take out your neighbor's appeal to see if, you're his comp.
Sure.
I don't know that I'm really supposed to do that, but, there we go. So, you don't want to do this. Okay.
Yeah. I've been paying tax on 1.5, and then now it's saying 1.38, I think is what it works out to, and it's just, I just don't know that we're,
So your assessment went down, but you don't think enough. And that's fair, but not to say, I'm just trying to get to that $1,150,000 versus the $1 million, or $1.2 million versus the $1.3 million. That's what I'm trying to get to. So,
and did it go down more? Because I have 967 assessment, which would be 138.
Okay, so you and I, we talk fair market value, because that's what most people will do. The assessment statewide is 70% of that.
Correct.
So I think you're looking at the assessment.
Yeah, 967, but if you divide that by 0.7, it's 138.
Oh, and I have 1323.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why that would have been a slight adjustment, but something got adjusted. But we're still getting the 1.2.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the 270 Acorn. That sold last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
there it is.
There is. That sold a year later than you. So that's 270 Acorn sold for $1,125,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to look at your.
Yeah, I should have did more of that.
No, we're doing it together.
Work's been crazy, but
we're doing it together, and you're late. So and I've made you off time, but we're going to get there. So, because how is that different? Oh my, look at that. Looks like the same picture. Okay.
They're all very similar houses.
Well, that's where I'm going. So tell me more about what's going on. Did your neighbor get a lot of them sell? Did a few? Just fill me in here on some of those.
There were definitely some houses sitting on the market. Like mine was sitting on the market for maybe a year before I bought it, and then 270, and then I feel like there was one other one that was sitting for a long time, and they finally did sell now recently.
Okay. You're going to here. I'm going to put you to work. Good. Okay. I'm going to give you. You're going to take this. You got a pen?
I do.
Okay.
Thank
We're going to start with 2 columns, and I'm going to I'm gonna rattle off when we get back there, right? You're a can-do type guy. Okay, your address, so put 330 Acorn, and then next to it, put, your square footage is 3998, and you have 4 bedrooms. How many baths do you have that I'm looking at here?
There's
You know how many baths you have.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
4.5.
Well, yeah.
4.5. Okay, 4.5. And then put, what you paid for it, and the date, September 2019. And then the next line is gonna be 270 Acorn. Can you keep up with me here?
I can.
Okay, 270, sold 9/28/2020, so put that under the sales column. And it sold for $1,125,000 and has 3750 for square feet. Do you have a finished basement?
I do.
Okay, he has a finished basement too. So, anybody have a pool? Do you have a pool? Do they have a pool?
I don't have a pool.
So that's a good base, the $1,125,000, right?
Right, absolutely.
Okay, that's an appropriate cost, you think?
I do.
All right, and we're gonna give, holds me off, do we like 905, which is more of a comp, 905 Flintlock or 864 Flintlock? Let's do 864 Flintlock. That sold for September 9th, 2020, for $1 million. That's only 3,300 square feet.
Okay.
Okay? And could you put number 399 up in the corner with it? I'll do that. I do that. I'll know what that means.
399 up here?
Good research there.
Thank you. You're doing my job for me. I really.
No, I'm supporting your efforts. We're here to help as well as, you know.
No, I appreciate it.
Okay, so this
I
is,
do.
comps that sold is very important when you come in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
In case you ever have to. So, I hope you're enjoying your stay at Fairfield Southport.
We are.
Glad you moved here. We got here just before the frenzy,
I know.
which is great. Do you have any other information for me?
I think that, I mean, the comps and then the appraisal that I had, I think that covers it. I mean, the house does need, you know, a lot of updating. It needs a new roof, it needs new siding, there's a lot of stuff that, you know.
They were built in the 90s.
And everything's original, yeah. So we're kind of, you know, looking at that, and a lot of the other houses are a bit more updated, I would say.
You may have bought from the original owner.
Right.
Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying your stay here. Do you have, so I think I've heard, and you've given me the information I need. Just to let you know, I've already said that, you know, I'm going to meet with the majority and present the case. And so do you have any other questions for me, or is there something I'm missing about your property, or?
No, I think we covered it. My only other question would be, what are the next steps and how can I follow up?
We have the deliberation, and then you'll hear, so we'll deliberate. Like I said, we have so many appeals, and we're scheduled to complete that by the end of the month.
Right.
We may run into a little bit of time in April, but by state statute, we have to be finished by the end of the month. So I guess we'll ask. So it will not prolong. You'll hear back. You'll get after we vote, you'll hear within a week of the decision. And since this is a reval year, if your appeal, I always have to read this part, if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year.
Okay.
If you're granted a reduction, you have to wait for the next reval year.
Just 5 years?
5 years.
Okay.
And if you don't like the board's decision, then you can go to court, and there will be instructions in that letter to how to do that. But if you have no more questions for me, I will conclude the hearing at 9:48.
Fantastic. I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and it's great to see people participating.
I appreciate your time as well.
Oh,
thanks.
We're here. It's been a fun month.
I know.
I just
Should I give you this form?
please, be sitting here, and you could, oh, the next one's phone, I've got phone. Okay, thank you.
And I think there's a gentleman downstairs too that said he had a...
I'm gonna catch up 15 minutes, you tell him, I'm catching up.
Thanks so much, Catherine, I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good day.
Paul, hi, my name is Catherine. Yes, I'm calling from Fairfield Town Hall for the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Great. What was your last name?
Giff, G-I-F-F.
Okay.
Mr. Jacobson, I want you to know that the hearings are being recorded. So, of course, you're going to be recorded. And for that reason, I need to just do a few things as a record. This hearing will begin at 9:51. This is for Appeal 399 for the property at 335 Acorn Lane, owned by Paul and Kelly Jacobson. Mr. Jacobson will be presenting as the appellant. The town has your property valued at $1,188,800, and you're asking for a new valuation of $1,028,700. Is that correct?
Correct. Thank you.
Terrific. And if you would raise your right hand, I will give you the oath. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Confirmed, yes.
Thank you. Okay. With that, we'll hear a shuffling of papers as I fill in the file here. Mr. Jacobson, as I said, my name is Catherine, and I am one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals who will be hearing you. My goal today and my role today is to understand your appeal, to make sure that it's properly documented and that we have that I have enough information to make a good presentation that you feel comfortable with to a majority of the board, who will then vote after we deliberate. Do you understand my role? Okay. And ahead of time, I knew I was going through the files, so everything's been digitalized. So I was going through the files last night, and my 9 o'clock had a 77-page appeal. And I knew that was going to be a rough start to the morning just to, get through. So I appreciate the brevity of information that's on point that you've put together here. So thanks very much. So while I'm apologizing for being late, I'm thanking you for getting me back on time by giving me the information I need. So
yes.
Take me through, because I do see a letter, but I love that you have these wonderful comps here of sold properties. That's perfect. You have pictures. You have comparisons to your property. Take it away. And you can do it at a pretty high level, because I'm looking at everything and I see it, but.
Right, yeah, I'll
Thank
just take a couple minutes to talk through it,
Oh,
so thanks.
and don't feel rushed. Don't feel rushed, I just wanted to say. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you, Kathy. I do feel like, page 1, which is the word summary, summarizes the information on the following appendixes. There's 3 very comparable homes that sold in the window that you're investigating, or wanted us to investigate. Consistent throughout, of the 3 sold, on a gross area, my house was always given more value. I joke a little bit that it might be the Brad Pitt effect or something like that. Not Brad Pitt. There's no intangible value to my home or the previous owners. So it's really just a house exactly like the other houses. So I feel that theirs might be 13% larger, but mine's 25% higher in appraisal value. Yes, compared to the 3 sold homes, my lot might be a little bit better, but I don't feel that it's certainly compared to 905 Flintlock. My lot is certainly not 133,100 higher. So I certainly feel when you look on an average of those homes, those 3 homes my home is only 2% larger, but the model that the town is using my value is 13% higher. And interestingly, the town model and the actual sales price for those 3 homes tracks very closely. They're within 1% of each other. So yes, perhaps my land compared to those 3 should have a slightly higher value, but not significantly. I'm also in the strange circumstance where I have 2 adjoining homes, which are virtually identical. Again, Toll Brothers.
I am familiar with that, yes.
Yeah, and so those are my house is only maybe 3% higher, but it's 26% higher coming out of the Tom's model. And a similar story for the land, virtually identical land, but my land is valued substantially higher. So when I take that and I kind of take those facts and strangely come out with this value of $1,028,700, I come back to a place where I am very similarly valued then on a total basis. And if you sub the total basis to the 3 homes that were sold, and a total basis to the virtually identical adjoining properties. So I won't talk through it all, but I understand that I had a concise argument. Are there any points that you think you'd like to ask?
Again, because you're so much more familiar with it, I'm following, but you came up your 1028. Is that just an average, or are you doing allocations of some sort? I see that on Appendix F. Just because it's, it's not like 1025. You're not using a round number. So I was wondering how you actually came up with that. Is it a formula, or did you override?
It really is, compared to the other homes, compared to the 3 sold homes, on a total balance, I'm only $600 off from the 3 sold homes, so I thought that made sense.
Okay.
And then when I compare it to the virtually identical homes next to me, I'm only off 1,150. So yeah, I could have rounded it 1,000 here or there, but I'm virtually on top of these comparisons with that value.
I was really, your Appendix F, I don't know if you have it in front of you, with everything so well highlighted between the improvements and the land. I was wondering if yours was a formula, or if you just looked at the numbers and put them in to be in line. That was it.
It's just a slight variance. No.
But you actually put those numbers in using the comparison. It's not a formula, like you're saying. You're not saying just the average of those.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why, it's just a different presentation.
Okay.
Sorry, interruption.
No, absolutely, you can't mute during this time. Okay, I wanted that, and just for my own, so I can remember easier when, are you one of the original owners in the 20 years?
I'm the second owner. The first owner owned it until 1990, until 07 or 08.
I can look that up too. Okay, all right, so you've been there, the standard 15 years or so, and you haven't remodeled, you remodeled when you first got in there for the finished basement and a bath. Your kitchen is still one of the more original ones?
Correct. The cabinetry is
very informative. Okay, excellent. Again, Mr. Jacobson, I think I understand your, as long as you're comfortable that I understand it, I appreciate the comps. You're very straightforward. There's not a lot of interpretation, which is great. I'm confident that I can do a presentation. I hope you're confident in it with the questions. Because you were so straightforward, I don't have any. That's the thing.
Okay. Okay, great.
Really, not that I don't understand, but I want, if you have any questions for me, now's a good time to ask them. And if you don't...
No questions for you. Thank you for representing me to the larger group.
Great. I will be doing that this month, and you'll be hearing back within 7 days of the decision. And I need to read this, so it's a little robotic. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. But if you are granted a reduction, you have to wait for the next reval in 5 years to come back. And if you don't agree with the decision, your option would be, you do have an option to go to court, and all those instructions will be in the decision letter. Well, thank you again for your time, your presentation. And if you don't have any other questions for me, I will conclude the hearing at 10 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
You have a great day. Thanks, Mr. Jacobson.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I apologize for the late I was going through the appeals last night. We're prepared I said, I got to end this shortly. I knew I was going to be, so I apologize for making you wait. You have a seat. Want to let you know that we are being recorded.
Okay.
And as such, I need for the record, to make a couple of notes here. Our hearing will start at 10:03. And this is for appeal number 585. The property is at 130 North Cedar Road. Owners are Karen and Charles Biggs, which I assume that's who's present.
That's us.
Okay.
Do you need us to sign this?
After I give you the
Oh.
yeah. The town has your property valued at $1,281,700, and you're asking for a revaluation amount to $1,015,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And want to let you know, my name is Catherine. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals for the year. And my role today is to understand your presentation, to understand your appeal and where you're coming up with the numbers, and to make you feel confident that I can present that information to a majority of the board who will vote after we deliberate. Okay? So if you're good with that, I ask you to raise your right hand to say you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And if you could sign that form, that ends that paperwork for today. Okay. So looking through, you have the appraisal. Okay. So you have an appraisal dated.
It was at the end of March.
It's so funny, the 2 things that we zone in on are always so hard to find in
The appraisal? It's buried.
It's the code.
I highlighted it actually so I could find on my copy. I should have done that on yours.
No, but I see this, like, the effective date of sales is all March, so that's the effective date, so March of 2020. March of 2020.
So it's on the page that has the person's signature and information in the bottom left.
Okay, and that's where I did see, so I did look through, so it's actually, it's licensed, great, and they have $1,115,000 even, and then yours is $100,000 left.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this appraisal was done for a refinance or so?
It was done for refinance.
Okay. All right. And I did, one question I had, which it may be fine, because after coming off such a large appeal with a lot of papers, there's only 3 comps. Am I missing a page? They usually do like 6 comps, and he does reference comps 4, 5, and 6. For the appraiser? There just may be a missing page to the appraisal. And I at least want to verify, not that this wouldn't be enough, but that I don't seem to have the page that has comp sales 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6. I have 1, 2, and 3. And it goes from page 2, page 3. I don't have page 4 and 5. Do you? In your copy?
Yes.
Okay. Can we just make a copy of that afterwards?
Yeah.
So that I can make sure and I'll get it into the file. It's almost like when something's missing, you're like, I don't know that I need it, but why is it missing?
Is this page in there also that is?
Your big appeal, 130?
No, it's a different one than that. I think that's it probably. It's a
comparable homes that sold during the base.
Yes.
Perfect, because that's what we do focus on.
Would you like this copy?
I have this copy, but
this is the one for 4, 5, and 6.
If you want to, can I have that, or I don't want to take it if it's your original.
That's fine. I can get it. We have a copy in the computer. So.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Because I do understand that a lot of people are bringing in the comparable assessment, and I understand that that's a model and so forth. So I appreciate that you gave us the sales information, because that's where we can really focus on. So can you help me get your $100,000 deduction to get to your number of the 1015?
Sure. It was, I think it was a couple of things. One, it was the appraiser, you know, we think it was high because they wanted us to qualify for a certain amount of line of credit. But then when we also looked at some of the houses, both in that, but then also we understood that the value in our greater neighborhood had gone down by, you know, a fair amount when we started looking at just our street. I think we might have been the only house on our street that actually went up, and then we looked at where everybody was, where people were put in, and it seemed to be a better fit at that number. When we looked at the other houses, there were about 15 to 20 houses on our dead end. I believe they all went down, which I know we're not talking about going up or going down, we're just talking about the number. But as I looked at the number, that's where it sort of made sense looking at the other homes that are similar to us on our street.
And you're 130.
We are 130.
Okay, and you went up to 7.9. That's what we're discussing in the assessment?
Yeah, which seems very curious given where everyone else.
One other person went up, and the others went down. Okay.
Yeah, and the ones that, all of the ones that were sort of at our level all went down, and we looked at where they were assessed and where that number was, and that's how we got to the $1,015,000.
Okay.
And we haven't done anything to the house in probably 10 years.
And I'm looking so, and again, I'm not trying to get into it, but how did you pick the 100,000 then? To be in line with their assessment?
Yeah, to be, you know, we were just finding alignment with the comps both on our street and then.
You would still be one of the higher assessed ones. You'd be a lot closer than, you know, you'd still be less than 159. You'd be between 159 and 172 in addresses. I'm looking at your sheet of the assessment. You didn't pick the lowest assessment. There's a range of assessments on your street, and you still put yourself at the higher end.
Yeah, we didn't, you know, there's houses that I think were more valuable than. We were just trying to be honest and have a realistic view. We weren't trying to pick the very lowest number.
So I like that on the record. It's not like you went right after and said, no, they all. So there is one assessment on your street that does stick out. I don't even know that I want to ask about it. 405, that's assessed at $1.8 million. Is there?
It's a 13-acre property.
That's the one at the very end.
Okay,
I'm more familiar. Okay, great. And then, so let's talk about the properties then right in there. So I do want to cover off on the appraisals reports or the, you know, and pick the ones, because I understand you think like, well, Hollydale is not in your neighborhood. I mean, Ingleside, not quite. But if we were to pick up the 6 that the appraiser does, which we don't often like to do, you know, we like to go with the appraiser, but you really are, and I have 410 sold. Okay, so 410 sold on the sheet that you just gave me, so what that's missing.
On North Cedar?
On North Cedar?
Yeah, that's a new house.
So that's a new build.
Well, it was completely renovated and on the market for a couple years.
Okay, so number 410, okay, so I can say in the appraisal, number 410, and he has adjusted that price to 12638.
Yeah.
And so you're saying, well, tell me why how your house would compare with that.
Well, theirs is brand new. It's
so is it a new build or is it redone?
It's hard to say. It was on the market for about 10 years. It was really down to.
So it's not new construction as.
It was down to its foundation. They left the foundation.
The bank just let it sit there for 10 years.
It was foreclosed a long time ago.
And then the builder came in and just redid it and put it on the market and sold it. So.
And enlarged it.
So we'll call that definitely new build.
It was, yeah.
Okay, foreclosed, and then builder take it down to the foundation?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I mean,
And
the front wall was still up.
And made it considerably bigger.
Which you have to do, you know, so that it's not a new construction.
Right.
So there's,
I think they left up the minimum of what they could do to.
Yeah, to say that it wasn't, you know, to keep the close to foundation, and then everything was new.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll call that new construction, but it's good that I have that, so, you know, appropriately you're lower than that. And then Fulling Mill and Old Academy. All right, Fulling Mill, how would we compare it to that one? The stack sold for $150. Do you have a finished basement?
We do not.
Okay.
It's a basement that gets water.
All right, and then let's go to your house. Okay, and then your, I think it's just double the yield cost. Make sure I got that. Okay, I think it's good, thank you. All right, and your house is almost 4,400 square feet?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And there's nothing on the field guard that's sticking out that is wrong. That's what it is. It does look.
No, so 4 bedrooms.
Okay. It's a pretty clean field guard. When you come in, there's so many additions, there's a lot going on. Okay. All right. All right, so it's still a street assessment, and then your last page is sales. That's just,
Yeah, that helped us to get to our price by just looking at things that were, felt like Greenfield Hill-ish.
okay, and these are all 2020 sales prices, and again, 2 at the high, and you put it in sales order.
Yeah, we just
Right,
sort of
and that's fine.
put a range in there to give you more information.
And it has the date that they sold.
Okay. And 12/18, okay, and the 2 higher ones are sort of at the end of the prior year. But,
correct.
But right in there. All right. Do you know any of these houses? Or do you know, and the date sold? That's always a good thing to know too. Okay. And some sold, these ones in November, they just sold, that was November of 2020.
Yeah,
Just to verify, which is, I have no problem including them. I just wanted to make sure that they were 2020 and not 2019.
yeah, we didn't take any that were smaller than us as far as bedrooms.
They're all 4 to 5 bedrooms.
Many of them had 5 bedrooms.
Okay. Do you know their square footages? Were any?
I don't know. We didn't put that down.
Okay.
But the number of bedrooms is on there.
All right. Good to know. What would help me is to just add a column, and I'll give you an email, and if you could just put the square footages there, and they have all sold less than you. I want to document, even let's just assume you haven't had any updates. I think I just asked this, but your house is, you bought it 15 years ago, and it is that kitchen, that bathroom?
No.
Okay.
No, we updated it in 2010, which is in the town records.
Okay. I see that with the permit. Oh, and that's when you put on the big addition
Right.
and everything. So your newest, everything's 10 years old?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we did the renovation in 2010 or 11.
And that's what it's in the records as your, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And that's when you even put on an addition?
Mm-hmm.
For the 2 bedrooms, the bath, and all?
Correct.
2 baths. Okay.
Yeah. And we haven't had, for this last 5 year.
You did it, your addition fits in. It looks like it was over there. Not always the case, so
We
that's
tried.
why I looked when I looked at the picture, I was like, oh, so that's probably what they did. I applaud you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we just need your email address.
Oh, it starts with Board of Assessment Appeals, BAA at fairfieldct.org. And if you could note, appeal number 585 in the subject line, and my name, Catherine. It makes it easier for me to look out for it. And if you could just add in the square footages, and then I'll know that yours is remodeled 10 years ago, 2010. I want to be able to substantiate the adjustment to the appraisal specifically.
Well, and the last revaluation, I think, is when our property taxes went up, sort of in line with our, right, was that 2015 or something?
I'm not, this isn't, everybody's transparent and know this, but because we have 20,000 units, there's a mass appraisal done. So
right.
You'll see, it gets close and it all has to be filed with the state. I mean, there's a lot. It's not like things are just picked out of the air. But, they go for this bell curve. And, we see a lot of the outliers. Of course, they go higher on that bell curve, but there's an acceptable level to be off. So that's why the hearings are really important because, yes, it's an acceptable level statistically, but when you get down to,
of course,
you're really trying to get to that fair market value because really our assessor, he's got a very low coefficient of dispersion, which is getting a little beyond me. I don't mean to be condescending, but I'm like, he does have this bell curve, and so many people will come in, and when they're right on it, well, they're not appealing. So, and then the people who are on the left of the curve, well, they're not appealing either because they're like, wow, that worked out pretty well. Right. So it's just hard to keep, to shift that down. So that's what we need to get at. So that would help me get at it with the appraisal and, how to adjust and this is everything that's sold in these. So what was your criteria for the list of sales?
Neighborhood, number of bedrooms.
And I wanted to do it in the base period, the last 12 months. So that, and it's all within, a mile and a half or 2 miles the most.
Yeah, probably less than that, probably a mile.
It's mostly within a mile of our house.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I
tried to go
really, all of those, I get those.
Yeah, I tried to go really close to our, and relevant and timely,
Thank you. And if you could just add the square footage, that would be great. And if there's something that really sticks out, it's like, again, the prices are all right in there. And again, you're not looking at going to the lowest end here.
Right.
So, it'll just be if like they're all 3,000 square feet and you're 4,400.
Right.
That they're 5 bedrooms? Most likely not. But it will be another piece that will help us substantiate that.
No problem.
Do you have any other questions for me?
I don't think so. What's the timing?
That is my last deal. If you have no other questions for me, I'll tell you what happens next. Okay. I present to the majority of the board. We are deliberating all in March. Okay. And then within 7 days of the vote, you will get a notice. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you have to wait for the next revalue year, which is 5 years from now. And if you don't like the decision, you can go to court, and there will be instructions in the document, in the letter, to how to do that. But if you have no further questions for me, I will look for the email. If you could get it to me the next couple of days, that would be great.
No problem.
As we're hearing, we're deliberating, but I already have last week's to deliberate on.
Right, okay.
You definitely have a few days.
Okay, no problem.
And then, if you have no other questions, I will conclude the hearing at 10:22.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll keep the whole folder. Yeah. Okay. This is mine. Would you like this, Catherine?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Terrific.
Appreciate it. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Take care.
And if you could, my next person, if you could save me to walk down there, that'd be great. Yep, it's in person.
Is it Bill Kelleher?
It is. Yep.
He lives on our, we just noticed it. He lives on our street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. a little late.
Or,
My first appeal today, I was looking through last night, I'll need you to sign this in a few minutes. It was a very lengthy document, lots of paper, and I know that was a tough one to start with. I knew that was going to put me down.
yeah, sure, no worries.
I appreciate you, your waiting, because we're about 2.5 hours getting there. Okay. So I'm going to grab yours.
And your name?
That's my introduction. So you know we are being recorded.
Sure.
And for that reason, I have a few, you'll get my name. The hearing will start at 10:24. And for the record, this is appeal number 327 for a property at 189 North Cedar Road, owned by William Kelleher, who's also the appellant, please. And the town has valued your property at $1,201,100. And you're asking for a reduction to $1,050,000. Is that correct?
Right.
Terrific. Okay, Mr. My name is Catherine. I'm one of 9 board members for the Board of Assessment Appeals. And my role today is to make sure I understand your appeal, that you're comfortable that I can present your appeal to a majority of the board, and that I have the right documents to do that. So that's the role. And if you're good with all that, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Great. And then if you could sign that that you were duly sworn in, that would be very helpful. Okay. So you have a lot of wetlands, you have a pond.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and your property, so about $150,000 down. Okay. Please take me through how you got to your new number.
Yep, so as you can see, the town values the property full value over $1.2 million.
Yeah.
You know, I'll come back to this later, but we haven't had in our immediate neighborhood a sale at $1.2 million in our street in years, save for one much different house that's a mansion, 6,000 square foot home.
Is that the one that just sold? There's kind of a new build?
No.
Foundation? Okay.
No.
Or the one at the very end that has
That's
like 13 acres?
No, the 13 acres didn't even sell for that either. This is the house across the street, actually, it's 6,000 square feet.
Okay.
You know, it seemed high to us, and the more we looked, the more we definitely saw that. Exhibit 1 is the survey that we had done 3 years ago to give you kind of a visual of the extent of the wetlands and in the backyard that, you know, is probably a full 35-40% of the property and with the setback. You know, there's nothing like a picture, Catherine, right? So it's worth 1,000 words. So exhibits 2 and 3 are recent photographs of the area. As you can see, it's just, you know, brush and weeds and woods, and there's a vernal pond for 9-10 months of the year. You know, it dries up for a couple of months in the summer when it becomes, you know, basically mud, but it's, you know, basically it's unuseful. It's just dead land, has no real practical utility. That's exhibits 2 and 3 in the photographs. Exhibit 4 is our property card, and, you know, there's no notation or recording of the wetlands on our property, and that's prima facie evidence of the condition and the status of the property. I asked the gentleman at the informal hearing, you know, I'm missing something here, and he said, no, you're right, there's no recording or notation about the wetlands on the card at all. So he said that he noted that as well. You know, 5 and 6 are some comparable properties, you know, on our immediate street that seem to be valued a lot less. 305 is a much bigger house on a comparable size piece of land. Same 5 bedrooms, 4 baths, and it's valued, you know, at more than $100,000 difference on the appraisal and almost $100,000 difference on the assessment. So, you know, that's in part where I'm getting $1,050,000. That house is at $1,094,000. The new, this is the house I think you were mentioning,
earlier is the one down the end that was taken down to the foundation and rebuilt. It's a brand new home,
Yes.
right? And bigger home, 5,000 square feet, brand new, and it's valued at even less than ours, at $1,093,000. So, all those things considered, the house seems overvalued and overassessed. I would note there's an easement on the property that is recorded on the property card, and those things should be there, but this big issue of the wetlands in the regulated area is not. And I've got a larger list of comparable sales just in the area too. As you can see, there's really none at $1,000,002, in the base period, and the assessments went down even more, so it just looks pretty high and overvalued.
So let me take a look at that would be great. Yeah.
So, I think I've given you some examples and information there.
So where would you have gotten this from? Did you make this?
I didn't. I looked them up. My neighbor did it for his. And,
yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It
yeah.
looks like you threw your neighbor on the way in.
Yeah, and so,
This is perfect.
And I can give you the rundown on our street too from Vision Appraisal, which is on the town's website. So, there are seven homes that sold. This is just since 2014. So, some of them are outside the base period, but no sales at $1,000,002, save for again the home that I mentioned across the street. That was it's a very, very different home. It's 6,000 square feet. So just coming back to that was in 2019, that house, but, the one down the end that we talked about, that was in 2020, that was $1,177,000. There's a couple in 2018, 2017, they're all, $1,000,000 and change, right, $1,000,000 and change, or $1,000,001.
Can I just zone in on a few things, and just give me a little leeway, because I know what gets valued in the votes and deliberations, and for good or bad. We can end up with the same place if we get there a slightly different way. What's the house across the street? Do you know the number, the address?
Yeah. The 172.
Number 172 is across the street, and that's a 6,000 square foot house.
Right. I wouldn't call that a comparable for that reason.
And did that, no.
Right,
and did that
that's why.
sell, you say in 2019?
Sold in 2019. Yep.
And do you know what it sold for?
$1,008,000.
Okay. No, that's,
Yeah.
you have to have an exception, and that's fine.
Oh, it's an exception. It's a mega mansion.
Well, 6,000 square feet, we're hearing that all the time. And are you at like 4,000 square feet?
Yeah, it makes our house look small.
Yeah, really? Okay. So that's the outlier, and then there was that new rebuild. Let's call it that new rebuild.
Yeah, that's 410. That's $1,107,000. Right, bigger home.
So, no, is it assessed or it's sold for?
No, it's sold for.
It's sold for. Okay, I'm sorry. So it's sold for $1,000,000.
$1,177,000. That was
2020.
Yep.
Do you happen to have the square footage on that one?
Yep.
For my two outliers, that's where I'm going.
Oh, well, that's not really an outlier, but that's a
But
comparator.
Brand new.
That was brand new, bigger house, 5,011 square feet.
Okay. Again, just,
That's
you can see this, and that I'm going to call that, it wasn't a new build, but it was a new rebuild.
It was completely different. This is Exhibit 6.
Right, okay. That's what I need to, so this is very important, and it will magically appear to me, the previous, your neighbor who gave you this copy, I did ask them to send me a copy with the square footage in there, so we can see that everything's gone down.
I didn't print that out from there, so, yeah.
No, so I'm gonna let you know, like, when that comes in, I will have a little update to this since you're using it for. So that works, definitely the pricing works, and I have to say that the wetlands is always a tough issue, because you have wetlands that cause real hardship. And then you have wetlands, it's everywhere. You know, so like your comparable properties will often have wetlands too.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a hard thing for the assessor because, you know, Greenfield Hill, North Cedar, like that whole area, all of the lots have, and they still sell. So there's a variety, so it's always good to know that, well, there's wetlands and there's how much of the property and so forth. So when you don't see a lot of it there, it doesn't mean that it's still not valued. The fair market value is still very important.
Well, it is, but, you know.
I appreciate all of that, you know, it just makes a more cohesive case to know about both parts.
Yeah, and the
Hard
photos
to
really.
make a case on one. That's what,
Well, that's it, and the
to have it
photos.
on both is much more helpful.
Yep, and that's why I gave you photos, because none of our neighbors have this issue. You know, I understand there's a lot of wetlands, designated wetlands around, but none of them have the pond and the wooded area and everything like we do on ours, because it extends all the way back to the cemetery. So the houses on our side of the street, save for maybe one down the end that abuts another pond area, you know, they don't have that issue, right, you know, on their property.
Right, and then it does always come down to, well, you know, when you sell, if there's another house on the same street and so forth, it could be against the market, you know, that's why the sales are so important, to keep that in there.
Yeah.
And to have just both sides.
Yeah, and that's why I gave you the list of sales, and then, like I said, 305 too is, you know, that kind of seals it for us, because, you know, you look at that, it's a bigger home, comparable piece of property, it's a very nice home, you know, and it's just a huge difference in the appraised and the assessed values. And they don't have the wetlands issue.
Right.
On their property, you know. On ours, you know, again, the wetlands, the regulated area plus the setback, it extends well into the yard, so it's, you know, probably fully 35-40% of the property, as you can see from the survey.
Yep.
So.
And do you border the cemetery as well?
Yeah, the property extends all the way from the street all the way back to the cemetery.
And is that the cemetery in the picture there?
Yeah, you can see it in the back.
I can see it, okay.
Yep.
Well, the picture, yeah, I just wanted to verify, I saw some structures out there, and I wanted to verify what they were.
That's okay. Yep,
The
the
line.
headstones and, yep.
Okay.
Nice and quiet, but.
Nice and quiet, but, you know.
You can see the headstones.
All right. So, glad you got to see your neighbor in this COVID environment.
There you go, yeah, get out and about.
It's getting a little cold today, but if you're comfortable that you know, that I understand your case and the numbers, if you have any other questions for me, otherwise I'll review the next steps and.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Okay, great. So as I mentioned before, I'll take this and I'll present to at least the majority of the board, so at least 5 people, and we'll deliberate and vote. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you have to wait till the next reval year in 5 years. And if you don't like the board's decision, you don't agree with the board's decision, you can go to court, and all the instructions for those options will be in the decision letter. So if you have any other questions for me, otherwise I can end the meeting at 10:37. You're all good?
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Gunn, and thank you for your presentation and information.
Yep.
Very helpful.
Thank you for your time and consideration. I appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, I'll need to take care.
And thank you for bringing me my paperwork. Thank you. Here,
All right, have a good day. Thank you.
you could either let the woman downstairs know, they can
Sure.
set up the next one. Thank you. Oh, you know what? It's a phone. Don't say it. She'll get confused. I have a phone. Thank you.
he's kind of like whenever works, you can call me whenever.
Okay.
So your next one is here.
Great.
If you want to skip.
If you have done that, that's
Okay,
perfect.
so we'll skip your phone and put,
I'll do it at the end.
do it at the end.
You're great, Ted.
Okay.
Thank you for coming up. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Come on in.
Thanks.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Want to let you know that I'm going to shift this so everybody holds it. There you go. We are being recorded, all
Okay.
hearings are being taped. And as such, I have a little record keeping here. The appeal will begin at 10:40 a.m. This is appeal number 259 for 92 Range Road. Owners are Mark and Joanne Hanna, and they're both present, it appears. That's true? Okay. The town has given a value to your property of $1,201,200, and you're asking for a new valuation amount of $1,082,539. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Terrific. Okay. So my name is Catherine. I'm one of 9 members on the Board of Appeals, and my role today is to understand your appeal and to make sure that I have enough documents and the right documents to make sure I can make a presentation to a majority of the board. So there'll be at least 5 people who will deliberate and then vote on your appeal. So do you understand my role?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. We're in the same. If you can raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And if you could please sign, which I think you already have,
Yep.
that would be great. No, you just leave it there and I'll pick it up at the end.
Sounds
Terrific. It's a lot of paper over there.
Your pile.
And I'm a paper person, and it's amazing, like, the government, they just turn around, everything's gotta have a piece of paper, and I was like, but it's already in, like, can I just do this digitally? They're like, wow. But, so it's kinda new to me to have all this paper, it gets some pleasant to it, so, why don't you take me through how you came up with your new number of
Sure.
$1,082,000, and as I said, it's my role is to get the information I need to make that. So I know a lot of people are coming in with assessment reviews and so forth, and I really need some comparable sales, which you're in a nice spot for that on Range Road because there are definitely comparable sales and fair market values to support your positions as well.
Sure. So how we kind of came up with, we're in a unique, we are in the Range Road Passport area. We happen to be in that development. We are in a unique situation that we are one of 6 houses that were the original houses in the development when it was built back in '91, and not built by the Toll Brothers, built by individual builders.
Gotcha.
So the 6 houses, or the 6 properties that I used as a comparison were kind of all the original 6 homes. So our home and I believe 10 Anvil are the only 2 that have turned over since the original owners. Everyone else is still original owners.
Okay.
Just as far as market value and things like that and turnover sales. But, with the market of Fairfield, how it's pretty, well, from when we purchased, it's still,
Okay.
it's still on the downside of things.
Okay.
But we just kind of took a look at the comparing of the properties close to our location and looked at what their assessed value was as compared to our assessed value. And we were significantly higher than any of the comparable homes, the ones that are adjoining our property, across the street, kitty corner. So when we looked at that, then I kind of went a little bit deeper and looked at how things were priced per square foot, just to kind of come up with how it was all calculated. So we looked at the land and the actual property. Do you have this spreadsheet that I put together?
And that's where I want to, so, can I just preference, I mean, this is good or bad, but like I said, I'm here to get,
Sure.
to get what you want. I mean, I'm definitely here to support you. And this is what happens, because obviously the whole analysis when you go, so our assessor, there's this model. I mean, good, bad, you hear about the model, you're like, oh, can I understand the model or not? But when he has to present a plan for the year, like he's trying to take me through it, and I was like, well, at the end day, because it just gets, it's an analytical, theoretical model. So the way I understand it as a layperson is, it really does have a perfect bell curve to the fair market values, which is what the state says that we have to do on October 1st, 2020. That's a state mandate. No, you have it. So when you have a bell curve, you have some high and some low.
Sure.
So the people who are low, well, they're not going to come in here, right?
Right.
So we hear from all the people like yourself.
Yeah.
Well, mine's much higher. See, but the other 5 people who are too low, they're not going to come in here.
Of course.
So, and that's not to say that we don't want to hear you, that it's not valid, it's not.
Yeah.
The reason that these hearings are so great, for me, in my opinion, is, well, it takes those outlets, and it still forces us to the fair market value.
Sure.
So that's the focus. We've got to get to the fair market value. So, plus, I understand that you are one of the originals, and you're not, but...
Yeah, no, we actually are not an original.
The positive is that there are reasons when people are looking to shop for a home, they're going to look at your home, and your type of home is, they sold last year. So we should have somewhat accessible 3 comps. We don't need, like a lot of people bring in their bank appraisals, and a lot of people, but in your area, I would think that there might be, similar to your house, a 4,000 square foot colonial with 4 or 5 bedrooms, and let's get a couple of those and say, well, my house has been renovated, or, oh, that is the original to me, and we can come up with that, because, maybe they're not selling for $1.2 million, and even though
they're not.
Well, you're not asking for a lot, like when you get into the percentages and the numbers get so high, a percentage of 1% is still a lot of money to people, so I am not diminishing that at all, but it's statistically about, so you may have some who are like, no, but we can't keep adjusting but I'm all about like, hey, no, they show the market value, this is what we need to get. And I can tell you, like, that's a fair presentation to make, too.
Sure.
So if you understand, that's why I'm saying, like, I'm telling you the information I really need.
Yeah, the market value. Exactly.
And, 1082, some people come in, well, it's just a straight set. So you just keep, you keep pulling up that stuff, and I'm gonna pull over, and we're gonna get, because I have similar style. Again, I want, you have a pen, right?
I do.
Okay, so we're all gonna write down a couple of sales comps. And I don't mean to.
No, that's so fine. No, please.
I'm just, I can sit here and listen to you, or I can say.
Get us to the point of where we need to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's see what I think might have sold in yours. Like, let's take a look.
I think I know a lot in the 1 million.
How about 270 Acorn Lane? And would you consider that a comp? Would you consider?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's jot down some notes there from you. You're good. So 270. Who's going to write there? Mark or?
I am.
Okay, on that sheet. So 270 Acorn Lane sold September 2020 for $1,125,000.
Mhm.
And that has square footage of 3,750 and a finished basement of 1,500 square feet. Do you have a finished
We
basement?
do not.
Okay, can you note that, subject? And then you.
Oh, here,
And then I need a
on
line for this. And so your house, that's gonna be another line or, piece of
200
information. No finished basement. And your,
Let me do this.
your living area is just shy of 4,200.
Yes,
So yours is slightly bigger, but not when you consider the finished basement.
Right?
Is your home, last time it was renovated, I'm talking the kitchens and the bath,
yep,
would it be similar to this house?
yes.
Okay.
Well, as
Can you
a-
look it up, please?
That's what I need. And we could do this, I could give you an email and you can just that's the information that would be really,
What you need.
yeah.
And then.
And just pick out, 2 or 3, and that's what I need. There
Yeah.
will be 2 or 3 in your area.
Yes, no, I know there's some on Flintlock.
And then it's really, okay, so $1.2 million, but if that one sold, and I'll say so that sold for $1,125,000, you're asking for, $40,000 less than that. You just gotta give me a little more reason as to why. And then maybe there's some that sold less than that.
Yep.
So if, I'll give you some options right now to use for the next 10 minutes.
Yes,
Do you want to go through with what you have? And if it's heavily the assessment analysis that I was saying, I will gladly listen to it.
no, so
And
you're,
understand, or I could ask you to do that and email it to me, or go
Yeah.
do it for 10, 15 minutes and then come back and,
so is the
What would
email
you like?
fine?
of course. As
Yeah.
long as you think I can present on that and come up and that you're substantiating your value. I mean, if you give me, yeah, these comps are great, and they all sold for
Under.
$1,025,000,
Mhm.
$1,125,000, and you're asking for $1,082.
Right.
I just,
Yeah,
you have to tell me why you should be different from that.
exactly.
Or you could say, look, I know I'm not $1,200,000, maybe, and I'm making it up. I'm not putting words into your mouth.
No.
But, that's what I kinda need, like just 2 or 3 properties, boom, 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 and
That are comparable, how we can compare our property to that. And so,
and it's fine to say, I don't have an assessment, or, I didn't redo my kitchen, they
Right.
did, or, you know what, that's a real comp, and okay, how much does a finished basement get you? Because you may have a little more above grade, above grade,
Sure.
4,000, and they're only 3,400, so I would expect yours to sell a little more, and you may
Exactly.
say the wash is, I don't have a finished basement.
exactly.
Okay. And you say it
Not
has to be
just
within
that,
a year? Was that the time?
2020, I know they're out there,
Okay.
so.
Yeah. So yes, if you're fine with us, I don't want to keep your time.
No, and I don't want to, but
Yeah.
I want you to feel heard.
No,
I'm
no.
just saying.
If you're fine with me
There are certain-
emailing,
There are certain, yes, and so when you email in the subject line, you put,
am I giving you this back right now?
you don't have to. The subject line, say appeal number 259, and my name is Catherine, Cathrane. And, I can't do this for everybody, but you can see your neighbors are in, like, the secretary's done an awesome job of, I'm gonna hear your neighborhood, and then like normally 1 or 2 other people will hear your neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
And so then when we deliberate,
You have a,
we're gonna
It's the
make
same
sure
area.
at least those 2 are there, and then
Okay.
another one, and the worst thing is, well, they buried this, why don't we have this, or so, they had a professional appraisal, I mean,
right.
you will be a standalone appeal.
Right.
However, you start hearing a few,
Of course.
I think you've seen your neighbors, one guy came in, he's like, so-and-so told me to give you this, and it's their comp, and I was like, yeah, I want the square footage, they're gonna make that,
Right.
there are just things I need, so square footage,
Yeah.
price, date sold, address, and then you know, why your price should be different, your fair market should be different than that. Okay. And sometimes houses are very different, and sometimes they're not so different to a buyer.
Of course.
All our homes are unique. Don't mean to say that, but yeah, well, sometimes you come, you know, they're like it's a 1940 estate.
Totally. Exactly.
I've had some really interesting ones I can't wait to present. I'm like, wow, who knew that was in Fairfield? So,
Exactly. No, that's great. So who will we email?
Yeah.
you got the email? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
BAA, Board of Assessment Appeals, BAA at fairfieldct.org.
Perfect.
And I can't do the appraisal for you, but I can.
There's in the right direction.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Wait, so do you need this back, or I can keep this?
No, just keep that.
You're gonna keep this one up.
Because I haven't taken any hearing notes. I didn't want to put it.
Well, I'll send you an email.
And so, if you could get that to me in 2 or 3 days,
Oh,
that'd be
yeah.
perfect.
Today.
That's great, because then it all gets in there that much faster, but
Perfect.
I'm not going to deliberate on this probably for a week.
Perfect.
So, if you have no other questions for me, I'm going to let you know the next steps are, I'm going to wait for that, then I present, when we deliberate 3 days a week. It'll be one on that schedule in March, and 3 things will happen. You know, you'll be denied, you can come back next year. You'll be granted a reduction, you can't come back until the next revalue year. You don't like the decision, you can go to court, and all decisions, all that information will be in the letter.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
All right.
Have a great afternoon.
Have a great day.
Thank you for your help.
If you're busy, well,
You want us to send the next person up, or just let them know you're done?
the next person is in person. Ooh, I've got a phone. Nope, in person, you could send them up. Thanks. Thank you.
Hello, how are you?
Are you Mr. Smith? Or
I'm
Mr. Russo?
here, Chris Russo.
Hello, Chris, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good. I think you've been through this before.
I've been through it a bunch, yeah.
Okay.
I got the affidavit, then an appraisal, and then just a couple other things.
Perfect, this is great. So, sorry to be repetitive, but
No worries.
We're being recorded, number 1.
Yes.
Number 2, so you have the affidavit, are you a lawyer?
I am a lawyer. No.
Do you get sworn in then as a lawyer?
No, I actually don't need to get sworn in.
Right,
I'm a
so
lawyer.
that's what I'm saying. I'll just document that. Okay.
I'm on the hook all the time.
Right. Okay, so that goes in. Then you know, better get my papers in order. That's been a little intimidating to me, just the officialness of.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the start time for the hearing is 10:57. This is appeal number 447 for the property at 51 Mill Hill Lane. Owner is Archibald Smith.
Mm-hmm.
The town has the property valued at $1,390,200, and the requested revaluation is $1,100,000.
Correct.
Chris Russo will be the appellant, and he has just given me a affidavit. Okay. So Chris, how do we get to $1,000,001?
Well, it's really just what the appraiser, I gave you the appraisal
Right there.
from Dan Conti from Baldwin Pearson. So he has it at $1.1 million. I will defer to what he has in his appraisal. the things that he pointed out to me, and I gave you the field card just so you, have that for easy reference.
Thank you.
What he did say, or asked me to mention is that it's a 1926 house. You'll see on the field card, they did have a recent renovation to it that was completed basically on the revaluation date. But he, taking a look at it, said that there's still functional issues in the home. It was remodeled, but some of the floor plan issues, it being a 1926 house, were not addressed. So some of the problems, I have an 1820 house, so I get it. It's when you have these older homes, you can do a renovation, but it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean you can bring it up to a fully modern home. You're just kind of working with some things that are still, kind of outdated.
Did he mention some of the? I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was still functionally.
Yeah, well, like the kitchen, he referenced the kitchen. He said that the kitchen is a new kitchen, but it's not what you would consider of the style that you would find now in a
anything
like a new construction kitchen, right? It's not as open. It's not it's all new, but
so new equipment,
but same kind of old dated framework.
Same old flow, new equipment.
Correct, exactly. Yeah, good way to put it.
All right, no, and that's what I just want to. Okay, thanks, Will. Okay.
He on his so he's got his comps here. They are all from the Southport area, because the properties in the Southport area. So he has 320 Warner Hill Lane, 345 Mill Hill Terrace, and 1566 Bronson Road. So all Southport submarket, and
I'm just looking for, did he put it in the chart form? I was looking for.
Yeah, he did. He put it in the chart form. It's probably.
Sorry, I just didn't get to the right page, so. Okay, nope, I got it. Page 202, right, I got it.
Yeah, page 202, right.
It's just my little fingers stuck here.
Yeah.
Okay, and they also July, September, May 2020, so it was a great time period.
Yeah.
Certainly the neighborhood worked for me there.
Right.
Not that I'm questioning an appraiser, it's just certain things, as I look into.
No, you see enough of these, you start getting the next one.
Everybody's refinancing, so, we have people from Kansas that are like, I'm not sure I put that one in the neighborhood. Okay, so the 1,000,001, so again, these are three properties that sold 1,000,001, 1,000,002, 1. And then, the adjustments really aren't even that enormous. We have a big adjustment for square footage to Warner Hill. Okay, and then it comes down to 1,1, 1,1, 1 flat.
Yeah, the one thing he wanted me to point out on these comparisons is, and he made a note in the comparables, is that the lots, which ours is 1.5 acres, the Warner Hill one is just slightly under that, and the other two are kind of, a little bit more under that. He made a note next to each of those that they're level lots, and he said if you look at our lot, and I actually provided a GIS plan, and on there I kind of highlighted the areas. The map makes it faint, but our house is up at elevation 130. And the bottom of our lot is down at, I think it's at 98. I made a highlight of what's the nearest number I've had. So it goes, the house is at 130, the bottom of the lot's at 98. So
and the bottom of the lot meaning the
back, sorry. The rear lot, yeah.
Because it looks pretty flat from the front picture.
Yeah, from the front, but then, and that's what he said. The other ones are level throughout, and this one has, it's a 30-foot drop essentially from the house to the rear of the lot, so it's got a steep decline on it.
Okay.
And he says that's something that he factored in, in comparing to the other comparables. So and that's how he came to the 1.1 million, and that's basically it. I kind of defer to him on his.
His biggest adjustments are, it is a large home with 4,800 square feet,
Mhm.
but, yeah, all good.
Yeah, I think.
But that's, an easily understood adjustment. Okay.
Yeah, and he made, because the Warner Hill one,
I don't think I have any questions. I mean,
Okay.
And I'm sorry, it was 3 comps, so that sometimes.
Yeah, he has 3 comps, 320 Warner Hill
Okay.
Road, 345 Mill Hill Terrace, and 5066.
Okay.
And this is, this is, over by the school, and so when the front looks over, I mean, you basically are looking at the school when you're looking out the front. And he had made a note about that too, that that street that it's on, Mill Hill Lane, is a difficult street as far as sight lines and access. It's kind of like almost like a hidden driveway, like one of those kind of.
So it's right off Mill Hill.
Yeah, it's just, you have to go shoot off of it, but it's got pretty poor sight lines, and so, compared to the other ones, so he had made mention of that as well.
Okay.
But, that's basically the argument, and, I just defer to him as far as, the comparisons and everything.
Well, I appreciate you taking me through the appraisal. Sometimes, people just throw it.
Yeah, here you go.
That's it.
No, he told me the points that.
It just goes so much faster too than I remember, so I appreciate that.
No, absolutely.
What takes you 10 minutes will take me 20.
Just to see it, figure out.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I'll make sure this gets in here. So, you have any other questions for me, or I'll talk about the next step?
Next step's fine, yeah.
So, I think, hopefully, I have enough information here to make a presentation to a majority of the board, and we will deliberate and vote. Within 7 days, you'll get the vote, the decision, and you have 3 options. 1, the appeal is denied, and then you can come back next year. It's granted, you get a reduction, then you have to wait till the next revalue year in 5 years, and if you don't like the decision, then you go to court, and the instructions are all in the letters.
Right.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So, again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that. I will make sure the appraiser gets into the report here, and I think you're good to go.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Good luck with the rest of them.
Oh, there's a few, yeah. And actually, if you don't mind sending up my next person unless they're on the phone. Nope. Mind sending up whoever's down there?
Okay, do you know who it is?
At the front desk. Tell them what at the front desk.
Perfect. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, please come on in.
how are you?
Oh, do I have more paper?
Some extra documentation, that's it.
Okay, terrific. I appreciate that. And, okay, and if you don't mind taking a seat, the blue chair,
Okay.
we're in COVID here.
Okay. You want me to go this? No?
Please.
Okay.
All right. Just want you to know that we're being recorded, so
Yeah,
there's
sure.
a little bit of a script here.
Okay.
The hearing will start at 11:08.
Okay.
This is appeal number 409 for the property at 365 Bowling Mills Lane. Sudhir Devini?
Yes.
Closer than I'm going to talk. Thank you, as the owner, and also the account today. The town has your property valued at $1,167,400, and you're asking for $1,099,200. Is that correct?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Mr. Devinity?
Yes.
You're just letting me get away. Mr. D, my name is Catherine. I'm one of 9 members for the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Yes.
And my role today is to go through your appeal so that I understand it and that you're confident that I can make a good presentation to a majority of the board for a deliberation and a vote. So that's my role, so we have to understand what's in there.
Sure.
And if you
I have been through this before, so
Okay.
like 2 times, you know. So.
Okay, wow, okay. Well, if you could raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal or question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, and if you could sign that you have been sworn in, I appreciate that. Some papers, and then we get, we have right there. Just says you were sworn in. Okay. Thank you, sir. And now, if you can let me know how you got to your new value.
Sure.
And let me read, you know, the numbers get so big, but we are thinking it's, you're looking for a reduction of about $68,000.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you have my previous document. You can go through the existing one that I gave you so that we are on the same page.
Okay.
So, is that good?
All right.
Okay, so I just want, as I mentioned, my appeal was granted previously both times. It's mostly related to the land. So if you look at the table that I presented, the table over there, okay? So you see, my question is, why did my appraisal land value go from 495,000 to 569,000,
Yeah.
which is an increase of $74,600, okay? So if you look at, I presented the 2015 and 2020 next to each other. That's the difference I showed, okay? So this is the reason why I am requesting. So the neighbor, before the construction of my property itself, the builder gave easements for water and drainage and plant restrictions for my neighbor. Okay, so I cannot plant certain things, I cannot change the landscape or anything like that. And
is this all due to conservation?
And also, she has wells.
So she has wells. Okay.
Okay, and the utilities have certain restrictions as well on my property, and the town has restriction on the slope of my front yard, like on half of my front yard. I can't change it. So if you go to the picture I provided, next page, you'll see in pink. Yeah, that one. You see, that's all those are the restrictions on my property.
Everyone else has a piece of your property.
Yeah. So even though it's claimed as an acre, it's more like usable is like more like a half acre. Okay. So that's my main argument here. And if you look at the comparables, I put actually, if you, that's in.
So this is what was granted. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's.
So
thank you for this, because that's what I was just going to ask.
So if you look at, I got the similar, go next page.
So can I just ask a question on this? So, because I'm trying to understand a little bit of the process too. Once you're granted these appeals, they don't stick in the record.
They partially stick in the record. So they don't. So that's what I want them to do permanently. So if you look at the property sheet, the last one. Look at the last one. Okay? So there in the middle it would say land has easements restrictions for 2015 DM.
Yeah.
Okay? But it should go here in the bottom. If it goes in the land value,
that's
then
what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. So, and for DM is just the initials of whoever put that in.
Okay.
Is that it? No, that's my question. Do you know what DM means? I think it's just the initials.
I don't know. Yeah, but it has easements, restrictions, conservation, and slope restrictions.
And so that's, I got what you, my husband always says, I'm picking up what you're putting down. So I understand, and that's where we want to get to, and I can't vouch that we know how to get there or how to do this, and that's why it's always going back to the fair market value and so forth. So I personally, not speaking for the board, like agree with what you want to do to get it in there. And what I see here is, I cannot tell the assessor, and he's a great guy and he's doing a great job. I also see on that same thing, if we put in the notes and we can adjust the condition report, we can at least keep it to stick more. If it's going to stick more, I don't know how. I think what the problem with that is that you don't know how it's going to stick. You can't just willy-nilly make up these conditions to come up with it. So I can't say that we'll never, that we'll get it perfect every time, but I think that would really help the case and make it easier for you and say, this is what it was, and I still think it's going up too high.
So if you look at the last but...
okay, so that's what we...
look at the last but third page. This is the same thing that the board representative said to me last time as well. This is exactly how I presented. Look at last but third page.
The one that we were on before? No, which way back?
Keep going.
Keep going. This one?
No, keep going.
No, that's not it. Oh, we're in the other. We're in the original. Where did I have that? Did you give it to me?
Yeah.
Here.
So this is the same thing I presented last time. If you see, they valued the land at this 563.
Yeah.
And I presented 6495, and it's 68,200 less. The data is 2/10/17. Wow. And the lady who represented me said exactly like you. I cannot promise that I will present the case. I'm familiar with this whole thing, so you just have to present the case.
Well, at least we're consistent.
Yeah, and I spoke with Munival. I didn't want to come this far. The guy on the phone picked up and he said, you don't have to tell me. I agree completely with you. Okay?
Okay.
And then the thing is, I don't think it's in the authority of Munival to adjust this. That's why they didn't change anything. Right. So that was based on my time for that. Okay. I have a second thing. If you have like 2 more minutes, I can go.
You can take more.
Okay.
That's why I run late. Everybody needs to, and I need to understand and get in here. So here's the other thing. You can talk as fast as you want. There's only a certain way I can process things.
Yes.
I'm going to take 2 minutes. You take 3. Okay?
Sure.
No, go ahead.
In the second page, I said I have incorrect gross area. I don't think that's making any difference in my taxes or anything. Like the second page, just from the beginning, second page.
This one? Go back?
Just
one
go
more.
back. No, just
one
go
more
back.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I have incorrect gross area. You see that, right?
Gross area. Okay. Sorry, I misheard.
So.
Previously, the gross area was 72. So this is in the field card.
Yeah.
Right now it's up to
7,865.
Well, yeah. So it's saying the unfinished basement, the finished basement's 1,373, and what does this say?
It says finished, it's mainly the unfinished.
Oh, and it's giving you the unfinished.
Yeah, unfinished, it's saying 1,000.
Okay. So your unfinished should be changed to 252 square feet.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Change field card. Okay, Ross. It was not adjusted when you finished it.
There's no structure change.
Right.
For some reason, they messed up my finished and unfinished. So even the finished is higher. And they actually have lower for finished. Finished is higher, but the unfinished is lower. So that's, and I presented the field cards before that and after that. So they are highlighted at the end, last 2 pages.
But no change with me? You're saying it wasn't changed?
No,
it was changed incorrectly. It went from the 1,600 and it split it totally wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So your gross living area you would expect the gross.
Yeah, it should be 7,237 back to 7,237.
Okay. go back to 7237. Okay, and then,
I mean, I have this table, if you are interested, I can talk about this.
it's very hard for you to have to come back year after year. It does seem, okay, and the BAA, I want to put down what they reduced last time for this issue. I know you had it in here, I saw it. Here we go. So, they gave about 50,000.
No, 68, I guess.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
867, and the new assessment was 817. But that's assessment, not
Yeah,
appraised.
I'm talking about that, so yeah, you are right. What about the...
Decreased assessment, 867, 860, 862, and you're asking for the same?
Yeah.
817, 250. Okay. Okay, terrific. Now, yes, you put in another piece of information, this table?
Yeah, so
On the
this
sale.
table is, I just did the comparables.
Thank you for that, if I could get everybody to do that. Yep.
Okay, so it's mainly the land and building comparisons.
Yeah.
And as you notice, like, my land went up from 2015 to 2020 because they didn't consider the land thing. So, I mean, on building side, the average was like 83. The difference is everyone's building value came down by 83%, actually it came down by 17%, so that means my building value should be actually 10,000 less. I'm not even claiming that because, that's fine, It's mainly the land, mine went up to 115%, versus everyone's went up by 1 point.
Well, because it's took it from the deduction, so of course it's going to be off the charts.
So that's comparable if you want to.
Well, I appreciate, you look at your neighbors and you see something better, but you told us why.
Yeah.
And that's what, a lot of people are coming in, well, you see, and I'm like, well, statistically, we don't know what, you've already been granted this.
Yeah.
And did you say twice before? I mean, I definitely see, and then even once before.
20,
Well, you just must be very popular to have around here. Everybody wants to see you with your rational, calm approach. So this is dated 2017.
Yeah, but there's one immediately after I bought it in 2015 or 2016 because that's when I did the same thing.
And then there was another one, yep.
Yeah.
And previous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mr.
David Annie.
Yeah. I'm going to keep practicing that. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. If you have no other questions, as I referred to before, I'll take this to a vote, a deliberation and a vote.
Sure.
And three things can happen. You can get a reduction, and then you can't come back until the new reval. You can get denied, and then you can't come back. And if you don't like the decision, you can go to court, and there will be instructions in there.
Let's say if they agree with this whole thing because
Because everybody has beforehand.
So I would prefer them if they can stick it under the land value, like they write something. That way, I don't have to come again in 2025.
That's what I have in my notes right here, so I definitely heard that.
I don't
have to, would like to not revisit every year.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, so we're all set here. The hearing will conclude at 11:23. I thank you very much for your time, sir, and let's see if we can adjust that field card and get it in there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
I
sir.
appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours and the information. Good.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be getting up there.
Yeah, I know, you're doing good. He was in the phone hearing, but your next one is, he's here.
Oh, I was like, okay, no, that's great. So you are you Herman? Are you Sanford?
I'm Sanford?
Mr. Herman?
Yes.
Great. If you would have a seat in the blue chairs, that'd be great. You have two first names, so I guess you get that a lot, right? Does everybody just call you Herman? Okay. All right, so you came in person.
My hearing is not 100%, so.
If you're comfortable, I can
Oh,
do this
that's
when
fine.
I speak.
Fine,
Does that help you?
we're already beyond the second shot.
Okay, and I've had my one and done.
Oh, okay,
So-
Johnson & Johnson?
And I do have the plexiglass.
Okay.
So, okay, so you know, we're being recorded, hearings are being recorded.
Okay.
The start time for record keeping is 11:25. This is appeal number 28 for 465 Fulling Mill Lane. The owner, Sanford Herman, is present and will be the appellant. And the town has valued your property at $1,008,800, and you're asking for a revaluation to a new amount of $830,000. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well,
Now, do you have the copy of the material that I attached with the application? It's 2 pages of commentary and a Excel exhibit?
yes.
Okay.
I have that.
Okay.
And just so I'll let you know. Okay. I will swear you in just a moment. My name is Catherine, and I am one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. And my role today is just like you were, checking that I have things. I have to have everything, all the documents, we have to make sure it's right, and you have to have confidence that I can present to a majority of the board.
Okay.
Who will deliberate and vote on it.
Right.
So that's the role today, is to get me up to speed. And I'll make sure that you have everything I need to document that.
Okay.
Okay, so if you could raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I so affirm and swear.
Thank you. And if you could just sign that and put the sheet on the corner, just that. And then I'm the other signature with the date. And if you could just put that on the corner of the table, I can pick that up later. Thank you. Okay, sir, so how did we get to the number 830?
Okay, I'm going really through the material that I sent you. First of all, the appraised value of a property should represent its market value.
Absolutely.
And it should be reflective of recent sales
Yes.
prices of similar properties, such the appraised value should really represent something close to what was recently sale prices.
That is exactly what we're looking
Okay.
for.
Now, at one point, my wife and I were contemplating selling, and we did engage a realtor, Mark Krupnick, who works at one of the Ravis offices, and I think it's in Stratford, but he's active in this area as well. And he provided us an ongoing list of what he called comparable homes
Yes.
that were on the market at
Yeah.
various times. When the grand list thing came out, we had this whole list, and what we did is we went through each property and we saw whether it was sold or not. And we came across 15 comparable houses, at least as described by the Ravis agent, that had been sold in calendar year 2020.
Okay. And that would be
That's on the Excel spreadsheet.
great.
Okay, now, one of those houses was 470 Fulling Mill Lane, which is a home right across the street from our property.
Okay.
So
And you are not 470, you're 465.
we're 465. However, it's a relevant piece of information. So, all right. So if you take the 14 properties other than the one at 470 Fulling Mill Lane, if you see the Excel spreadsheet,
I do.
we went and we looked, based on the material that was on the grand list and everything else. We had both the sale price and the grand list appraisal as of
1/1/2020. And then we look at the comparison. And if you look at that, you'll find that
The average,
well, first of all, the range was anywhere that the appraised value was anywhere from 10% above to 15% below the sales prices, which seems a reasonable, you know, and on average, whether you take an arithmetic or a geometric or, you know, a dollar-weighted average, it came in around 7 to 8% below the sales price.
Right.
Okay? And that was it was consistent. If you look at the 470 Fooling the Lane property, it was on the market for a fair amount of time, and it recently sold for $875,000. That's pretty well documented. I mean,
this is, you finish yours, and I'm going to tie a few things together, but I'm totally following.
So,
and the grand list has it appraised at 1054,
which is 20%, which is, it seems to be a complete outlier.
And you're with that. If your town value is
our house and the one across the street have always been fairly comparably assessed, appraised, and we thought in the marketplace reasonably comparable. We have the same lot sizes. I think our lot is a little better than theirs because it's a little more level. On the other hand, they have a swimming pool. We don't have a swimming pool.
So to get what you get places different ways, but you get to the same place.
So, but we think our house is comparable to 470. So we think it should be appraised and assessed and whatever at a comparable level. And the issue is that we think that 470 itself is completely. And we do know that, you know, based on things that we've observed over the last 5-6 years, they had done improvements inside the house. Our own home, other than replacing our countertops in the kitchen and our 3 bathrooms, we've made no, you know, significant improvements. Okay. The one thing that we did do is we put in a generator, you know, a backup generator. Now somehow in the valuation they say it's worth $15,000. We only paid a little under 10, and that was, you know, a dozen years ago. If you allow for depreciation, there's no way that itself is worth $15,000. But
and I think you can appreciate this as so the comparison of the assessments, the bottom part that you did here. Thank you for showing, you know, this is what, there is the model, because we do that mass appraisal. And so you do end up having a bell curve around property so that you see that the appraised value a little less, you know, you've got the bell curve and it's 8% off. So, which falls within appropriate parameters for taxing everybody fairly, you know, to figure out how much of the value everybody's going to get. So you're validating. No, I'm so with you. But what happens then, of course, you always have some outliers. So the people who are appraised lower, right, the bell curve, well, they're not going to come to the hearing, right? Because, right? And then you have the people at the higher end who are like, hey, why am I so high? As you're saying for 470, you know, perfectly. So that's what, so thank you for coming to the hearings, because that's what we have. And that's why I can say to you, like, we understand that there's a bell curve. You're helping us. Well, we're helping the homeowners to move that curve so it really won't be a bell, and then the assessors are going to be like, well, I had a good bell curve going.
Nothing is perfect. Now,
but you understand, like, that's what it's working as a profession. So, and that's why we say, well, the best thing that we can do, people come in with lots of this type of analysis, and then, but you've given us the comp, and that's what we're saying, well, the best way that we can address your property is the sales price for 470 phone call. That their assessment type Well, they'll come back to us and say, look, I just paid the $875, or not. I mean, I don't know if they will, but you have that comp to say,
Yeah,
you told me I valued it over $1 million.
right.
And here it is, this is an entirely comparable, now I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is what I need, I would love, that's a great comp. Do you know, I have a few quick questions on it. You did mention, so at $875, you're still coming in at $830. So I want to know why you think you're a little lower. You've mentioned, well, they have a pool, right? So it has a pool, and you do not, right? Has a pool?
We think we have a little better lot, which is a plus, but on the other hand, we think that in terms of improvements on the house, we've got less than they have, and they have a swimming pool.
Right, and then the improvements, you say they're probably a little better, but you're not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if the issue is really 470 is an outlier. If you were to agree with that conceptually, and then say, well, we think the houses should be same price as opposed to 5%, we think it should be 5%, you may say, well, it should be about the same. That's not the issue. The issue is that the house, 470 is appraised at a complete outlier.
Right,
And-
but we're going to adjust, you know, your case is to adjust your appraisal.
Right. Yeah, I'm not
To
coming there
the fair
representing
market
them, but the
value.
point is,
No, I duly noted, but you aren't represented, like I'm
Yeah.
trying, yeah, so
Right.
I'm taking the information that we need so that you can
Right.
represent you.
I mean, quite
You can
frankly, if
tell
someone
them.
offered us $1 million, we'd think about walking, because we think that that's not what the house is worth.
Do you know when it sold, or do you have access to that listing? You know, that tells me, or their field card, or something, and could you get that for me? I mean, I can get it too, but
I don't really, I mean,
Okay.
you guys have,
No, then I will do it, I was just,
yeah,
and do you
I know it was
when
with
it
Coldwell
sold?
Banker.
Okay, I'll just, and I'm just gonna call it up, but I like to,
Right.
and do you know of any other sales that sold that would be comp? Well, and you may say, no, 470 is the perfect comp, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
We don't really,
470 is the perfect comp.
yeah.
I can take that, so that's the comp. I will call that up, and just so you know, I'm gonna take a look at its square footage, you know, that it has a pool and so forth,
Right.
to try to get to that 830.
Right.
I'm going to, the generator issue is one we've heard of. You know, they recoded generator, you know, the last couple of years, you know, everybody's gotten
Yeah,
a generator, so.
I fully understand
I will,
that has a
so
value.
you paid $10,000 10 years ago. Well,
Yeah.
I think, you know, even if you went to the assessor, you would say they're trying to figure out who has what generator.
Right.
So I think they're just giving
We have a
people.
Generac, and,
Right, but you have, some people have, meaning the code.
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah,
I will have him take a look at the generator code for the 15,000, maybe you need, instead of Gen 1, you need to have it Gen 2 or 3.
Right. I
So-
mean, do you think, in terms of what I presented, is there anything that I've done that you think is outlandish?
No, I didn't, no, I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah, okay.
I
good.
hope you don't think I just dismissed it, I was just saying
No,
like this, I think you do understand that there's that bell curve
Right.
and how it works.
But this one falls completely outside the bell curve. I mean, if it turned out that their house was appraised at 10% above what they were sold, and then we were at the same level, at 875 times 10 is, is 950, I would say, gee, that seems still a little high, but I think we would say,
You could live with it.
we'll live with that. But at this level, I really think it's almost like we almost need to go to Superior Court, because it's just completely, it just seems way out of the
Well,
range.
if you have no other questions for me, that's my last part, to
Yeah.
say, you do have options before you go to Superior
Right,
Court.
which I really don't want to do, but,
No, but, well,
Yeah.
again, my role is not
Yeah.
to give you that decision, but to let you
Right.
know this is what I will be presenting.
Yeah.
And you would, thank you for the information, because
Yeah.
470
Yeah.
is the comp,
Yeah.
and gets us to 875. And you've given me some extra reasons why you should be at
Right.
830.
And just to let you know, my background is, my career is I was an actuary. So I do these
You
kinds
do
of
these things in your
analyses,
sleep.
you know, not in terms of real estate, but in terms of other things, you know, relating.
But you understand where the
Yeah.
whole, and my role today is not to represent, 470 Falling Mill, but.
Oh,
to use it as a
absolutely. It's just a piece of information
But
that,
it is the piece of information that
Yeah.
it's sold and its market value is really the piece of information that we're gonna
Right.
take to you. So, and that's what I was.
yeah, at what point do you guys come back with a decision?
So that's mine. If you have any other, do you need to say anything
I'm
else
done
about
with-
the property?
right.
Then I go to, you know, my next, thank you for the information and thank you for being like succinct and telling me what I need and to work with me because what I need is what I need. But it's good to have a background too, but you didn't inundate me with all that. So my next step is, during the month of March, I will present this to a majority of the board, so at least 5 of us, and then I present it, we deliberate, and we vote.
Uh-huh.
And then within 7 days, you get a notice. And you'll, if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're given a reduction, you have to wait 5 years for the new reval year. And then if you don't like the decision, that's when you can go to court. But there's definitely this in-between step that you might.
Well, if you were to completely reject our appeal, do we have the ability to go to Superior Court?
Yes, and instructions for that are in the letter, if you don't like the board's decision.
Yeah, and that, I'm not really looking to do that, and I know there are reasonable ranges of, I mean, we said 830. If you came up with a number 900, we'd say, well, a little high, but, you know, we understand about that. But it's just that this is at least 10 points beyond the extreme of the bell curve.
I understand, that's what I mean, if you get a reduction, then you can't come back, but you may be okay with it. But if you don't like the decision, then you can go to court.
Right. Well, I think the only thing we wouldn't like would be to say that we're completely off the wall. You know, because
No, I think
if we come back with a modest reduction, we'd probably just say.
I think your 470 Falling Mill, I just have to find out the exact date that it's sold, and that you said, you know, not said it, that applies to you, but that they have a pool and you don't.
Yeah.
That's reason, you know, that's your rationale, so
Yeah.
I understand your rationale, I don't.
Okay.
And if
So
that's
when
it,
does the board need to do this? You said sometime.
we meet 3 times a week, so, you know, we meet in March.
Okay.
The hearing will be deliberated in March.
All right, so we would
scheduling
get
those
something
now.
by the end of March?
And then a week after that, you get it in the mail.
Okay.
Within the week, so, you know, we deliberate, and if we deliberate on a Saturday, on Monday, they send out the
Okay.
letter, so within a week
Okay.
of that. So that's your timing.
Okay.
And,
All right,
it
well,
was a
thank you
pleasure
for
meeting you.
listening.
Thank you and thank you for
Okay.
the information, and we're understanding each other. You know,
Okay.
you're validating the bell curve, and some
Yeah.
are high and some are low, so.
Right.
we
And
need
we're
to hear the
super
ones
high,
that are
we're
high.
super high, that's the problem.
And we need to
Yeah.
hear, those are the people that we're hearing from.
Right.
So,
Okay, well, thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you. Much easier in person.
When did you
than on
have
the-
your shot?
A week. I still have a week before, you know.
Yeah, we
I
had
had
this a week ago Saturday, so we got
You're 10
5,
days.
6 more days
Yeah.
now.
Well, we're still gonna be wearing masks.
Yeah, I
We're still
know.
gonna be doing, but there's a new confidence. There's
Yeah.
much more hope, isn't there?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. If you don't mind letting, Catherine, the woman at the desk, know she could send up the
Yeah.
next person, that'd be great.
So your next one is a phone, I think.
I thought he was my phone.
You had two in a row on here. No, my sheet doesn't always match what Ross is. That
Oh,
next
you
one?
were right. Well, I just thought Rob called on the phone. Okay.
Okay, so I think he's a phone, and then your next
I'm
one.
so sorry, I think you come back up.
No, I don't mind.
I guess I have two more.
Trish is the leg.
Oh, yeah, well, that's why you're in better shape than I am. Okay.
This is Paul speaking.
Oh, hi, Mr. Ross?
Yes, hi.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm calling from Fairfield Town Hall for the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Oh, hi, Catherine.
Hope you were expecting the call. I'm sorry I'm a bit late, but
No problem.
Fine,
I was
good.
waiting. I'm
Oh.
glad you called.
I hope you have time now. It's okay?
I do. Yes.
Okay, great.
I know.
I am letting you know that the hearings are all recorded, so you are being recorded. The hearing start time is 11:45. There's a little bit of record keeping because of the recording. I need to confirm. Okay, this is for appeal number 481 for the property at 739 Mill Hill Road. John Paul Ross is the owner as well as the appellant. And the town has given your property a value of $1,259,900, and you're asking for a revaluation to $1,150,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, terrific. As I said, my name is Catherine, and I'm one of 9 members on the Board of Assessment Appeals. My role today is to understand your appeal and to work with you so that you're confident that I can make the presentation to grant the appeal, as well as you work with me to make sure that I have the right information to make that presentation. Is that all okay with you? All confirmed?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay. So if you could raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, and I thought you were coming in person, but wait, I gotta grab that piece of paper from the table. Okay, so sir, how do we get to the value of $1,150,000?
Yes, it's my turn to go.
It's your turn to go, sorry.
Great. Sure. I will explain there are 3 pieces of the puzzle, of which you have 2.
Okay.
The first, and to me the most compelling piece of evidence, is my refinance. I refinanced my mortgage in early 2020, January or February. As a part of that process, I had an appraisal done.
I have that.
It should be in your possession and would be dated 12/26/19 and was accepted by the mortgage refinance company. So that valued my house at $1,150,000. That's one piece of evidence.
No, I have that here, and I just want to take just a quick look that I have, the whole page down here, and I see the comparable properties are on Mill Hill Road, Cedar Road, that's all great. All of those sales would have been a little earlier because of the timing, not that that's a bad thing, but the sales were really just before the reval period. And they all were, properly adjusted, adjusted by the appraiser and come out. There's quite a bit of variety in the prices. So, but still, he gives his value at $1,150,000. Okay, I see that. What's part 2?
Part 2 is I then went and used, I believe, Zillow to go online and find all the houses that had sold since then, since his valuation, to try to sort of make sense of and sort of bring my understanding up to speed with what has happened in houses in my neighborhood. And I looked specifically at the last 12 months, sort of filling that space from end of 19.
I appreciate that.
I looked at houses houses that were 4 bedrooms or more, as mine is, I have 4 bedrooms, houses that were in the same zone in terms of, 1 acre, in terms of my area, in terms of location, in terms of, roughly my size house. And then I adjusted those by square footage, and I got a mean price per square foot for the sale of these houses of $304. The average was a little less than that, $298. And if I needed benefit of the doubt, I used a higher number, 304. That would value my house based on the sales of comparable houses in the last 12 months at $1,080,000 and $727. So I looked at that range and said the comparable sales is telling me it's, call it $1,080,000, and the refinance appraisal is telling me it's, $1,150. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and call it $1,150, and that's how I came up with my estimate.
Okay.
And then the third piece of, evidence, really, I don't know if it's evidence or not, but to give you my attempts to try to understand the assessment process, I went back and I took a log of every house on my street, on both sides, up and down the street, and tried to understand, based on my knowledge of those houses, where does mine sort of fit in? And that was challenging for me, and in particular, some of the houses that were valued at less than my house, and yet had been bought and sold within the last couple of years for more than my house. So there was some picture was missing to me, which to me basically points to the valuation of my house being too high. So that's where my sort of knowledge ends.
Well, that's still a lot of knowledge, so don't knock yourself on that. So what I can say, this may be outside of my purview, but I think everybody I've said it to is like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. I mean, we have 20,000 properties, and so in town, and the assessor has, there's a lot of state statute in here. There's a lot of review by the professionals, and he has really a very approved model that produces a bell curve around, and with a very acceptable rate of, quote, error, which I hate to use the word error, but variation around the sales price. However, there's a variation around the sales price because it's based on a model. And, when you think of a bell curve, the way I think of it is, well, the people who are above that bell curve, who are, the assessments are too high compared to that fair market value that's been derived by the system, those are the people that we hear from, of course. And just so you know, the people that don't come here are the people on the other side of the bell curve because they either don't know or they feel like their assessments are on the lower side compared to that. So trust me, he has shown me so many charts because I started the process exactly like you, saying it should never be above fair market value. He's like, but sometimes it's above and sometimes it's below. So that said, is where we go, exactly where you're going though. The right process, I just wanted to give you some confidence that somebody is looking at those and it doesn't, and I personally thank the people who do seem too high to come in because that, it kind of breaks this model because it gets rid of the bell curve and pushes it to the left. But c'est la vie, that's what it is. Everybody deserves to be assessed at their fair market value. So that brings us back to getting to that fair market value. And you did the right thing. The appraisal, that's a great piece of evidence. And your acknowledgement that we are really trying to get to your appraisal plus 10 months. So let's see, and then you took a look at the 2020 sales and you tried to come up with your numbers. Now, the only piece of bad news I can tell you is I'm pretty sure I have this matrix in here, but it's so blurry I can't read it. It looks like it was a screenshot and then a picture of a screenshot type thing. So do you have it in front of you? Because what would be really helpful is if we could pick out a couple, you pick out a couple of really good comps that sold and give me the sale prices. And let's just give those in around the right value that you think your house should be fair market value. Can we do that in the next couple of minutes?
Yes.
It's just
For
that I
sure.
can't read it, so I can't help you. I can, you know, if you told me what it said, I could probably read it, but it's really blurry.
Yes. Catherine, first of all, thank you for explaining the process. That does make perfect sense, and I appreciate the rigor and the work that goes into it.
No, well, and I appreciate it. I'm just trying to, because so many people are like, oh, they're all wrong. But I'm like, well, we don't hear about people who are too low. And Rob has, you know, Mr. Murray has totally, like, shown me in his office. He's more than willing to discuss anything. And I'm like, oh, I kind of get it now. But you still get to have fair market value, even if you're too high. And then you can tell your neighbors to come back next year if you think they're too high. So give me a few, and let me pull out. You gave me again the right information. I thank you for that, because sometimes I get information I just can't use. Okay, so I'm looking at your house. You bought it 6-7 years ago. You did a remodel in 2015 for something, added a full bath. You did a large addition you bought the large addition, right? That was done before you bought the property.
That was done 2 times before I bought it. Someone else bought it after, and then I bought from them.
Well, it's a very popular, okay. All right, and you're in Mill Hill, which side of Mill Hill Terrace?
I'm on Mill Hill Road.
Yes. So you're...
And
close
I'm on
to
the
the
downtown side.
Okay, and close to the school, or just for my information?
I am probably, yes, very close to the school. There's,
Great.
a dozen houses, 15 houses maybe.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, that's just for me. I like to be able to picture what's going on here. Okay, so it is a cape, and it's got most on the first floor. It's almost a ranch with a bedroom or two upstairs? Okay, great, and it's 3,000 square feet. Okay. Great. Cape, almost a ranch, and then 1 bedroom up. And you have how many bedrooms altogether? So 2 down, 1 up?
We have 4 bedrooms total.
You have 4, okay. Your field card has 3, but okay, I'll work with you there. All right. And you know whatever they call bedrooms.
You know why? Because actually one of the things that I'm calling a bedroom doesn't have a closet in it.
Yeah.
So we use it as a bedroom, but it's probably not, technically a bedroom.
Exactly. Okay. So that's great. So if you can, what's on this list? And look, would you like to email me the list? Not that I can talk to it, but then I can have a clear...
I can send it to you. Kevin, just to be clear, the list you're talking about is the comparable home sales list?
It's just a list of sales, right? Smart MLS matrix.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I will email it to you. If you give me your email address, I can send it to you now.
That would be great. I can't pull it up right now because I'm in town hall, but I'll then have it for the files and it'll be easier to present on. But it is BAA, for Board of Assessment Appeals, at fairfieldct.org. And if you could reference in the subject line, Appeal 481, and put my name, CATHERINE, I'll be sure to get it. And then, you're not done yet though. Which properties on this would you consider? See, I see Kate's off on the side. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I just lost you for a second.
Oh,
you said which?
Which of these would you think are good comparable properties?
Well, the ones that are kind of right all around me, I would look at most closely. So there's one that sold in November of 2020.
Okay.
It's 1022 Mill Hill.
Great.
It's a little bit smaller. It doesn't actually look smaller, but I guess technically a little bit smaller. And then there's one.
And what did that sell for?
That sold for $9,895, just under $9,000. $9,895.
And it's a little smaller. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And the other one on Mill Hill Terrace, which sold also in November, is 430 Mill Hill Terrace.
Great.
That sold for $980,000. And then that's about the same size as the other one. So they're both maybe like
a little
5% smaller than my house.
Okay. And you got one more for me? How about you start? is when I go to buy, okay, you pick one, go ahead.
Yeah, the other, well, if it's within the last year, I would look at one that's on Warner Hill, which is just the extension of Mill Hill, it's almost close to the same street, it's 105 Warner Hill Road.
Yeah.
And that sold for $1 million.
Great.
And that's a probably nicer amount.
And, what date did that sell?
That sold, 11/20/2019.
Oh, 2019, okay, so that one's a little earlier. Okay, and then I'll let you in on a secret of how I buy things. Pick something that's too much money and tell me why you're less than that one. You got anything on this list that sold for $1.2 million?
There's one that sold for $1.3 million.
Okay.
And that was 101 Mill Hill Lane.
Okay.
And I don't know that house in particular, but if you give me 1 second, I just pulled it up, and I can probably see. So that house is 4-bedroom, 5-bath. It looks like a mansion, and it is, I don't know what to say, beautiful, big, and beautifully landscaped with fountains and a pond. I mean, it's got a roof deck. It looks out over it's just.
Okay, make a PDF out of that and send that in with the appeal too. And if you have a chance, if you're right there and you're calling up, just make a PDF of those other 3 and send them in the email.
A PDF of the 3 that I mentioned plus the one that is overpriced. Okay. You got it.
And then I have, hey, these are the comps, this is what he pulled up, this is, his appraisal amount, and that's the fullest case. Is there something that I'd be missing if I didn't have those? Otherwise?
I think you got it.
Okay. And do you have any other questions that I could answer? Otherwise, I'll tell you what the next steps are.
I don't have any questions. I appreciate it very much.
No, that's great. So what's going to happen now, I think I mentioned that, I'll take this information. So if you can get it to me in the next 2 or 3 days, that would be great.
Yep.
And, I'll put it in the file as well as make the presentation with it to a majority of the board, so there'll be at least 5 of us, and we'll deliberate and then we vote. And then within 7 days, you get a notice of that decision. And if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you have to wait another 5 years for the reval period before you can appeal again. And if you don't like the board's decision, you can go to court, and instructions on all those options will be in the letter. If you don't have any other questions for me, I do thank you for your information and your willingness to participate and not just tell me what the number has to be, but to get there. I appreciate the documentation and the information. And if you don't have any questions for me, I'll conclude the hearing at this time.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Catherine.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate your help.
Thanks a lot.
We conclude at 12:02. Have a good day. Please have a seat. I appreciate you waiting. I'm sorry I'm running a little behind.
That's okay.
So I appreciate your time.
So let me give you something.
Okay.
This is here. Now, this is the notice, but you don't need to see it right now. And this is the letter of authorization.
Yes.
And I have a question for you. Do you have any of John Fallon is the representing the owners. He's an attorney. And he can't be here today, but do you have any objection if I just put him on cell phone?
Oh, no, not at all.
Let me just
You should do, of course. And then, as you know, everything's being recorded.
Right, that's fine.
So I'm going to do a little record keeping here while you do that. The start time for the appeal will be 12:05.
If he answers, that is. Hey, John.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Fine, thanks. John, I'm just going to put you down here. I don't think you can see anybody particularly, but can you hear us? All right.
I can indeed. Yep, that's fine.
Okay, so this is John Fallon.
Hello, Mr. Fallon. My name is Catherine. I'm one of the 9 Board of Assessment Appeal members. I'm sorry to be so repetitive. I'm sure both of you have heard all of this before, but we are being recorded, and so for the record, the hearing will start at 12:05. This is for appeal number 202. The property is listed as 2644 Bronson Road. Bronson Meadows LLC is the owner. The town has valued the property at $18,286,900, and you are asking for a revaluation to $12 million. Is that correct?
I'll let Michael speak for us, but yes, that is correct.
Okay, Michael, what's your last name?
Gold, G-O-L-D.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So that actually isn't precisely correct because the application spoke to $12 million. But you'll see from the report in front of you that I concluded $12,140,000.
Okay.
So
Okay.
tell me when you want me to start.
I want you to start.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. So are you a lawyer? Do I need to swear you in?
I'm an appraiser.
Okay, then if you could please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal non-question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, now you can begin.
Okay. So what you have in front of you is a fairly large document. The majority of the document to the rear are field cards, documents in support of the data that's presented in my report. The body of the report is shorter in the front section. John, did you send a copy of the report by
I have not, no.
Okay, that's fine. So you have the report now. Essentially, I'm not going to read the entire report because I know I've only got 15 minutes, but you can if you have the time. And so I'll just summarize the findings.
Please.
First of all, this property was purchased about 5 years ago, Bronson Meadows, and it's a large property. It was formerly in equestrian use. It had a large colonial, had a pool house, and several outbuildings, stable, etc. But the buyers in 2015 came in with the intention of demolishing everything and putting up new buildings, and a lot of them are equestrian use buildings for their specific personalized use. Now they basically purchased a property which was already improved with several buildings that had value, but they chose to demolish the buildings and put up new buildings. Now the buildings put up at a high specification. They are of specialized use. And what my analysis shows is that for these type of specialized use properties, equestrian use properties, the outbuildings generally have limited market value or limited value to the market.
And the specification chosen by the owners was for personalized taste for the main dwelling and for the equestrian buildings. And there is a high degree of functional obsolescence, or what I'm saying is the cost and value are not synonymous. So you can put a fortune into a property, but the market doesn't reward you for cost, as you probably understand.
And did they actually do the demolition?
Oh, yeah, they did.
Oh, they did, and then they rebuilt, so we're speaking of the new build.
We are, but I just want to explain to you the history of this. And the reason that we're doing an appeal in 2021 of, the reason that, this is a 2020 revale.
Well, yes, the date.
So,
and it's a revale year, so
right,
that's
exactly.
when you do it.
So what I'm saying is this property has been under construction, or was under construction until fairly recently. So these new numbers relate to the new buildings on the site. Now, what I've done is a few things. First of all, this type of property is very difficult to value because there's nothing like it. It's atypical. There's nothing quite like it in Fairfield, and there have been no sales. There have actually been no sales of inland properties over $4 million for the last few years. The only sales that have occurred over $5 million, or over $4 million for that matter, are waterfront properties. So you have to go down to Southport, to Long Island Sound frontage properties, and to get those sort of high values. And what we have here, though, is a property that has a fair amount of acreage, has over 30 acres of land.
Yeah.
So the way to think about its value is, what is the value of the primary 2 acres? And the assessor does it this way as well. The primary 2 acres with the main dwelling and pool house and greenhouse, which are around the main dwelling.
And then you have the
And then you have the excess land, and you have all the outbuildings. So what I've done is, first of all, I looked at there are various charts that you can look at at your leisure, and there are photographs and exhibits in the back. What I've first done is looked at the assessment. As far as the building grade is concerned, which is a judgment by the assessor, the judgment by the assessor has been a selection of a grade which is extraordinarily high at 16, and has resulted in a value that is 40% higher than the next lower grade, the 15 grade. And I would argue that I give examples of buildings that are very similar in specification. One of those buildings was actually at, may I ask you, are you a real estate broker?
I have been in the past, an agent, not a broker.
All right, so you know some of these properties. So I don't know if you remember 1125 Pequot Avenue. So that was a building that right on Long Island Sound frontage.
Yes, well, right.
Okay.
We're talking the waterfront again.
Waterfront
We're a
property.
different village.
But this was a building that was also built around the same time, very high specification, had an elevator, et cetera, and had personalized specification. This was graded a little lower and was valued about, I'd say we're 40% higher than that. And I don't see any market justification for that level of difference in value. And furthermore, if you were to look at the inland sales, the highest sale is just shy of $4 million, as I noted before. So what I've done, but I recognize the fact. I'm not going to argue that the specification at this property, the building specification, isn't extraordinary. It's very high. The issue I have is that the market doesn't recognize massive premiums for people's choices in specification, and I think there were imported electrical fixtures from overseas, things that the market doesn't really appreciate. So first of all, I looked at the grade, and I think that's part.
ask a question on that? Because you were mentioned very specifically the construction grade 16 versus the construction grade 15,
Right.
and there would come to a 40% difference to the
Right.
appraisal. So where do I see that? Do you, like, is that actually on it?
You'll see it, no.
Why
yeah,
do I see so many, are there so many field cards to cover the different outbuildings?
No, the field cards are the field cards relating to the sales I've used, and so field
Okay.
cards for other sales, and also for the assessments. If you flick back about,
So those are two questions I have. If you
Okay.
don't mind walking me through those.
okay, if you go to comparative dwelling assessments, you have to go to the first chart. It's after the subject photographs.
Okay. I have the property sales, is that what I have?
No, you go back
Even more.
even more.
There's
No,
a lot of
stop there. Now you see your subject photographs?
Yeah.
Okay, go past the subject photographs. It's the first chart past the subject photographs.
I got it, okay.
Okay, now you flip that aside. You'll see I've listed the comparative assessments. And if you look along the bottom, those
Yes.
in bold. So Bronson Road, the main dwelling, is being assessed at $714 a square foot rounded. And then you go to 1125 Pequot Avenue, it's $525. And then on down, and I would argue, by the way, I've appraised an awful lot, most of these properties. If you remember the property at the old Jason Robards estate, it was sold fairly recently, the property at 340 Willow. That's only $400 a square foot. Maybe you ever saw that house.
Okay.
You saw all these houses. They're extremely high specification. But I would agree that the specification here is fairly similar to 1125 Pequot Avenue, but you'll see 1125 Pequot Avenue is assessed at a very much lower rate. Now these are judgments by the assessor, and I don't have a problem with the assessor exercising judgment. What I've done is look at the market and to see whether or not, whether or not the market recognizes those sort of premiums, those sort of values that the assessor has allocated for this particular property. So I've gone, if you go to the next chart, flip over a couple of pages, the first thing I've done is I value the main dwelling on a couple of acres with the pool and greenhouse. Now, you'll look all these, this 2644 Bronson Road, as you know, is in Greenfield Hill.
Yes.
So most of these sales that I've listed here are in Greenfield Hill, but I've also included those three sales. I've identified three sales over $5 million in Fairfield over the last couple of years, 2-3 years. They're all, one of them is on Sasco Hill Road, which has views of the Sound over the the golf course. Yeah, the country club Fairfield. The other is 340 Willow, which has Long Island Sound frontage, and the other is 1125 Pequot Avenue, which I've spoken to just before. And these are all Long Island Sound frontage, and even the assessor has recognized the difference and the value, for example, of 340 Willow, the land alone, the property sold for $16,350,000. The land alone was valued at about nearly a little shy of $11.5 million. So there's a recognition that the land associated with Long Island Sound frontage is far higher than in Greenfield Hills. In fact, the assessor has valued, and I don't have any major disagreement with that, that the 2 acres, the primary 2 acres, are $525,100. So this is an analysis. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I'm just trying to point out that what I've done is, first of all, identify that what I've looked for is what's responsible for this extraordinary high value associated with our property, and see that the grade was partially responsible for the building improvements, the main dwelling. As far as the building, the outbuilding, the equestrian outbuilding are concerned, I've looked at equestrian use properties that have sold Now, there haven't been any in,
Had to go out of town.
you had to go out of town. So if you flip over to there is, okay, you've got equestrian sales?
Yeah.
Now, I've been fortunate enough, you see equestrian sales, I've been fortunate enough to have appraised the majority of these properties. 144, now, by the way.
Lifestyles of like, get to see the lifestyles of
The rich and famous, yeah. I go home and my wife complains to me that we can't live that way. So 2644 Bronson Road has an extraordinary large and high specification stable building, for example. But so too did 144 Huckleberry Hill Road in Wilton on the Wilton-New Canaan line. Now, if you remember, there was a company named US Surgical, a guy named Hirsch, and that was his property. But and it had been on the market for $40 million, then it reduced to $30 million, then $20 million, and finally it was a bank sale for $8 million. Now that too had an extraordinary, I've got a photograph of it, an extraordinary high specification stable building with the same sort of design and lounge areas and bathrooms, and the stables were extraordinary, heated stables, etc., etc. So in looking at that sale, now it was a bank sale, so I will agree that it probably sold a little lower than market. It had 153 acres, and that was readily subdivisible, whereas our property has a substantial portion of wetland, and the assessor has valued the excess 28 acres at a couple of $1 million, so there's a recognition that it's really just excess land. This was subdivisible land at 144 Huckleberry, had an extraordinary stable, but also this property, Hirsch had spent a fortune on engineering waterfalls, and there are a couple of lakes on the properties. He spent a fortune on the entire property. I remember he had me in his office many years ago telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about because this property was worth $100 million. Well, subsequently it sells for $8 million. My point is, strong market evidence in looking at these equestrian property sales, that when they finally sell, the market doesn't reward the property owner for all the extraordinary improvements they've made, including high specification stables. You go to the next property, 124 Old Mill Road in Greenwich, formerly owned by Mel Gibson, and subsequently sold, and there are people like Tommy Hilfiger was interested in buying it. The person who did buy it from Mel Gibson in 2010 paid $24 million for the property, and then the main house was older, but it was gorgeous. It had been remodeled, and there are photographs in here. And it also had two large stables. Now, they were modern stables, but they had one had an apartment attached to it, and the other one was another large stable, masonry, stone stables. High specification. The property ended up selling in 2019 for just over $30 million. So again, the market and the land values in Greenwich, of course, are substantially higher than in Fairfield. My point is that in each one of these cases, and you can look at this data at your leisure, each one of these cases substantiates the fact that these equestrian use or specialized use outbuildings don't contribute very much. The market really sees limited value.
It's a very limited market.
So basically what I've done is I valued the main dwelling with its own lot, looking at comparable sales in Fairfield and Greenfield Hills. But I've recognized the fact that there is some uniqueness associated with our property, and I've recognized that in my final valuation. Then I've looked at the outbuildings by looking at these equestrian use properties and made a judgment about the market's discount, that is, that functional obsolescence associated with super adequacy. Now, this is a very common appraisal term, functional obsolescence, due
Yes,
to...
yes.
Okay, so you understand.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
All right, so that's what we have here for the outbuilding, certainly. And for the land, I don't have any major disagreement with the land, but I do feel that the assessor has come in a little high on the excess land. There is another property that's sold in Greenfield Hills that had a conservation easement, and he valued the land there at about $85,000 an acre. He's valued, the assessors valued our excess land at over $100,000, about $103,000, $104,000 an acre, as I recall. And I would argue that by virtue of the wetlands and the fact that it really is not, it's speculative as to its subdivision, its value is more compatible with the value that the assessor has subscribed to the conservation easement land. But the land is not the major issue here. It's the functional obsolescence that has to be recognized for this type of property. It's extraordinarily high specification, but it's also extraordinarily specialized in taste and use. And the market's reaction is, as I've described, it doesn't recognize a whole lot of value to these sort of specialized use buildings. And my conclusion was that which is on the...
That's where I was going. Where is that?
Page 5. Page 5, right in the front. So the 5th page.
You buried the story.
So I put the conclusion.
Okay, so this is, and I was trying to get to this, I appreciate your work. I will be reading through and looking at the pictures and reading a little more. Okay, so I understand your premises.
Right.
So if we were to go, and I know you can't just cross out numbers and say this is, because it is a package. You always have,
right.
Those parts. I am in full appreciation of your efforts to do that. The land that you're saying, so for the 2 acres, and you came up, okay, so did you follow a similar?
Yeah,
you did.
You'll see, if you look at page 5.
That's what I was trying, I didn't know where 5 was, and I did want to take in more information.
Page 5, so you see the 2 acres, I have no disagreement with the 525 one. And this is the assessor's number.
Right.
For the 28.29 excess land, I valued it at 86,630, which is what the assessor used for another property. Okay, so that gives us the 2,975,000.
And do you know what property you used that for? Did I miss
yes.
that?
Well, it's referenced earlier on. It's actually a property on Congress Street, 3286.
Okay. I was thinking that was the amount. Okay.
It has 10 acres, and it's referenced in the body of my report. It has all the information. It has the field card. So everything is here that you'd ever want to know about, all the properties I've referenced.
But I appreciate you pointing me to the ones that if they're not there, I'm going to have a hard time making it.
No, they're all there. It's all there, but again, it would take me a couple of hours to read or go through all this, so it's best that
you're
I
doing
summarize
a superb job of summarizing, and I just want to make sure I understand the summary.
So with the main...
And is there, I'm sorry, we've discussed it, with conservation or whatever easements or not. I'm just asking, is there a classification that is called equestrian land and then it's not divisible, or that is not a...
There's no such thing as equestrian land.
Okay, so it's not like once it's a farm, then
No.
to have it classified as equestrian does not prevent any subdivision at any time.
No, the wetlands does.
And that's fine. I just wanted to clarify that because, like for farms, then you take that restriction,
exactly.
not for equestrian. So I wanted to ask that question. And now the main building, the pool house, if the town has that at 9.5, you're coming in closer to the 6.8.
Correct.
Is that achievable, like simply by making the construction grade a higher or lower rate?
Well, you mean, would it be achievable for the assessor to come down to that number?
Yeah.
The assessor, well, to be honest with you, it's not so much. I think the grade was responsible for this extraordinarily high value.
It's the market.
But it's the market that tells you that even at a very high specification, when you get those sort of custom features, that there is functional obsolescence associated with this property, and he has applied no such adjustment. Now, the assessor can do this one of two ways. Either he could adjust down the grade, which I think would also be appropriate, because I think there are equivalent properties with lower grades, to a 15 grade or 14 grade, or he could leave it at the grade but apply an appropriate amount of functional obsolescence to bring it down. Either way, there is no market data that would support the value just for the dwelling at around $9 to $10 million. There just isn't any substantiation for that. And all this is explained, by the way, in the verbiage that I provided in the first 4 or 5 pages, leading to the value conclusions. And then finally, for the outbuildings, you'll see that I applied a functional obsolescence of about 50%. Now, in my opinion, in looking at the equestrian use properties throughout Fairfield County, I believe that the actual functional obsolescence associated with those sort of structures is far higher. But I've used 50% as, I believe, a reasonable interpretation of the market behavior. So that's led to a value of $12,140,000. Is there anything you want to add, John?
No, I think you've obviously summarized it very well. I know that there's a lot to digest there, Heather, but I hope you guys will take an opportunity. Michael worked obviously very hard on this, and I think there's a lot of data in here that hopefully you'll look at carefully in rendering your decision.
And I appreciate, how you looked at it. It was actually very scientific, but very clear and very concise, because we can just, get off in the weeds on that. It has gold fixtures everywhere, and, but you didn't do that. So I appreciate you and giving, again, the options, agreeing with the assessor here, but saying this is it, and bringing in the market value, and you did have to go far afield. I mean, it's a unique. So it's always difficult.
Oh, I agree.
It's not like you have a subdivision, I've just heard 5 of them, and you didn't bring in comps, let's pick a few, and we can get that. So I appreciate the depth.
Yeah, I just would say in conclusion that because it's an atypical type property, and because it's a difficult property in that regard, it's just as difficult as it was for me to do my analysis. I understand and recognize it's difficult for the assessor as well. Typically, they don't go when the assessor is putting together, or the revaluation company putting together an assessment for this type of property, they're not going to be going outside of Fairfield. But as a matter of fact, in this particular case, you sort of have to.
Absolutely, because people who are buying this, they're not necessarily going to look just in Fairfield. They want the property. So thank you for having that experience, but you got to see it and bring it up, because I would not normally get to see Mel Gibson's house.
Well, you don't get to see the inside. John, I'm going to cut you off now. Is that all right?
Yes. Michael, thank you very much. Thank you again very much also for your time and attention, and we'll await your decision. Okay?
Terrific.
Thank you.
Mr. Fallon signing off at 12:33. And if you have no other questions, we'll be deliberating, and you will hear from us, and I'll conclude the hearing at 12:33.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
I hope you've got some bedtime available for reading.
I'm happy to say this is one of my last days of hearings. So now I can really focus on.
I recognize there's a lot there. It's not that just, I know I'm leaving, but it's just that the majority in the back there, the field cards associated with all the properties that I've referenced, except for within Fairfield, sales of land, sales of...
right, but it's always good.
It's all there, so that if you look at a sale, then you can refer back to that. Excellent.
And we all have different ways of learning, so I appreciate you.
Thank you
very
much.
Presenting.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This call may be recorded for quality assurance.
This call may be recorded for quality assurance.
Hello, Mr. Ram?
Hello, this is
This
Holiday Automotive.
Hello, this is Catherine from the Board of Assessment Appeals down at Fairfield Town Hall. I was looking for Yaron Ram.
I don't have anyone employed here by that name.
My bad. Sorry, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Hello, Mr. Ram?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I'm calling from the Board of Assessment Appeals from Fairfield Town Hall.
Right.
Is this an okay time to call?
Yeah, anytime is good.
Well, you were very kind. I apologize for pushing you off and taking care of all the people who were here.
No worries.
Really greatly appreciate the flexibility. So
You're welcome.
I am ready to hear the appeal today, and just so you know, there's the phones are, everything's being recorded, so you are being recorded. Let you know that. Again, my name is Catherine, and I'm going to be hearing your appeal today. However, my role is to make sure I understand the case for your appeal, and that you're confident that I can make a presentation at in a couple of days to a majority of the board, who will deliberate and then vote on it. Okay? Few quick record keeping. The hearing will start at 12:41. This is for appeal number 288 at 22 Beacon View Drive. The owner is HHR Design Architectural, and the appellant, who is going to be Yaron Ram. The town has your property appraised or valued at $367,500, and you're asking for a revaluation to $280,000. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Mr. Ram, how do you get to $280,000?
It's basically, I'm looking at the amount of work we need to put in this unit. We have termite damage, we have, there's no basement, it's very hard to work there. We don't know yet how we're going to address it. The units are very, very small, so we cannot get good rents for them. And we were looking into, even thinking to try to take the whole thing down and rebuild, but there is issue with wetland there. So that's basically, how we came, the condition of the units, the amount of work that needs to be put in, and we're going to need somehow to address it.
And I have heard, and I'm sorry to say, I forgot to swear you in because it's on the phone. So if you don't mind, do you solemnly swear that all the information you shall give and have given concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. 15. So, looks like you purchased this, and again, it's a multifamily, or what am I?
It's a multifamily.
Okay, and it has an honor, so is it a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom? What's it?
Yeah, it's really...
It looks like a single house that was converted, and not built as a duplex, or am I wrong?
It's a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom.
Okay.
I think they intended, it was built probably like that. I don't think that 3-bedroom was built as a 3-bedroom, because 1 bedroom you can barely fit a bed in.
Okay.
So, but it is 3 rooms there.
Okay, understood. And they each have one bath on each side?
Each one has one bath, yeah.
Okay. And looks like you purchased it in 2017? Is that correct?
I don't remember when, but more or less,
Does that sound right? You've owned it for maybe 2 or 3 years? And have you been renting it?
No, actually, no more, before 2017, I think. Maybe
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a title change then. I do see that, but you've owned it for almost 10 years.
2017, yeah.
Okay. And have you been renting it, or is it not rentable in this condition?
We rent here, yeah, one unit is rented, the other unit is rented now, but, we had a hard time renting it.
Okay. And do you have any sales of similar properties in that area?
Well, in that particular condition, you're not going to be able to sell it unless the contractor is going to buy it. So.
But has anything been selling in that area, or do you have any competitive sales?
I don't.
Okay, and you're unaware if anything has sold in that area? The multifamily?
No.
Okay. So your requested value is based on what you think it could sell for?
I know I'm not going to get more than that for that unit.
And that's just your own, you don't have an appraisal or?
Yeah, I don't have an appraisal, but I have a lot of property, so I do.
Okay. All right. It would be helpful if you could send me any nearby sales or anything that could, even if it's for a higher sale and you said, look, there's termite damage or this, or the condition of mine is poorer than the one that was sold. So that I can substantiate it, it would help your case.
Okay, I'll try to start looking for it.
Okay, does it need to be a lot? Does it need to be, 1 or 2 sales would be great if they do exist. Like you said, I don't know if they do, but that would be great, or what you even consider as a.
Where do I send it to?
The email is BAA for Board of Assessment Appeals at fairfieldct.org, and if you could reference appeal number 288, and my name is Catherine, Catherine.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, just a couple of multi-families, and and just let us know if they sold higher or lower, right where you are. That would be great, especially for 2020 sales. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. And the hearing concludes at 12:47. All hearings have been recorded for the day, for the morning, and Conference Bridge is ending at 12:47. That's Conference Bridge 1.